a second. I believe Sanasha has a little difficulty connecting at the moment.
Right. You don't have the presentations with you, no?
No, I don't have the presentation with me, but I could run through what we did last time, just till Sanasha comes over after she sorts out her technical difficulties. So basically, the main things that we would like to run over is that during this presentation, we would like everybody to keep their mics muted when the presentation is taking place. And I'm sorry, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so to keep your microphone switched off when the presentation is taking place. But however, if you do have any questions after the presentations, you can either unmute yourself and present it and voice your question, or we could go on. You could go on and type the questions in the chat box. We will be accommodating questions in all 3 languages today. Also, just to move on, when we do have our Mentimeter session, what you would need to do is type www.mentimeter.com into your web browser, and it will take you to this web page where you will be told to enter a code. And by entering this code, you will be taken into a question and answer session where you get to pick the answers to a few questions that we've put together. So by doing this will be this is framed as a quiz for everybody to take part in, as an interactive session. And yes, so that is our Mentimeter session, after which we will be breaking out into our group sessions. So we will have 2 groups that we will be focusing on today. And for that, you would get a pop-up on your window that says, please join room number 1 or 2 when it comes to the respective group session you're supposed to join. And then what you could do is you could confirm your participation in this, and you would be taken into these breakout sessions. When you are going into these breakout sessions, just keep in mind that it would take around a minute for you to connect to these sessions. So do not go away from the screen when you are connecting to the sessions. So just press confirm and you would get connected to these sessions. I'm sorry, we are facing a bit of technical difficulties today at the moment. But I believe I explained it to the best of my abilities. If there is any questions, don't feel free to reach out on the chat box or unmute yourself and ask them. I'm just going to hand it over to Damita now.
Thank you, Ruwani. ඉතාමත් ඉක්මනින් මම සිංහලෙන් කියන්නම් රුවනි කියපු දේ ඒකක් වැඩසටහනේ අතරතුර හැම විටම මියුට් තත්ත්වය ඔබගේ මයික්‍රොෆෝන් එක තබා ගන්න ප්‍රසන්ටේෂන්ස් කරන වෙලාවේදී ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහන්න තියෙන වෙලාවට ප්‍රසන්ටේෂන්ස් ඉවරුනහම අන්මියුට් කරලා හෝ chat box එකේ type කරලා ඔයගොල්ලෝගේ ප්‍රශ්න ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඊළඟ කාරණේ තමයි අපි පොඩි ප්‍රශ්නාවලියක් දානවා Mentimeter එක කියලා තවත් platform එකක ඒකේ chat box එකේ type කරා මේ laptop එකේ හෝ ෆෝන් එකේ වෙනම බ්‍රවුසර් එකට ගිහිල්ලා www.menti.com කියලා ටයිප් කරන්න. එතකොට එනවා වෙබ් පේජ් එකක්. ඒකේ ඉලක්කම් 8ක් ටයිප් කරන්න එනවා. ඒකත් අපි මේ අවස්ථාව වෙනකොට chat box එකේ දාන්නම්. ඒකට එන්ටර් කරපුවාම අර ප්‍රශ්නාවලියට යන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට අමතරව අපි කණ්ඩායම් වලට බෙදලා සාකච්ඡා කරද්දී ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඔටෝමැටිකලිම ඒ කණ්ඩායම් වලට යොමු වෙනවා. ස්ක්‍රීන් එකේ ඒ join group 1 හරි join group 2 කියලා හරි මේකක්. ඒතකොට ඒක join කියන එක ක්ලික් කරපුවාම ඒ අදාළ සාකච්ඡා කාමරයට ඉබේම යොමු වෙනවා.
Thank you, Damita. நாங்க இந்த ப்ரோக்ராமை கொண்டு போகும்போது ஸ்லைக் அண்ட் ட்ரஸ்ட்ல இருந்து சின்ன தொடர்பாடல் டெக்னாலஜிக்கல் டிஃபிகல்ட்டிஸ் இருக்குது. ஸோ இப்போ வந்து நாங்க இந்த ப்ரோக்ராமை ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணி ஒரு கொஞ்ச நேரத்துல மென்டிமீட்டர்ன்னு சொல்லி உங்களை வந்து அதாவது உங்களை பார்ட்டிசிபேட்டரி என்கேஜ்மெண்ட் செய்யறதுக்கு உங்களை என்கேஜ்டா வச்சிருக்கிறதுக்காக ஒரு கொஸ்டின் அண்ட் ஆன்சர் மாதிரி நாங்க மென்டிமீட்டர்ன்னு சொல்லி நீங்க இன்னொரு வெப் ப்ரௌசர்ல, அதாவது உங்களோட கூகுள்ல அல்லது உங்களோட வெப் ப்ரௌசர்ல நீங்க ஓபன் பண்ணி நீங்க அதை அங்க விசிட் பண்ணக்குள்ள நாங்க ஒரு கோட் தருவோம், ஒரு 8 டிஜிட் கோட் தருவோம், 8 டிஜிட் கோட் தருவோம். அதை நீங்க பேஸ்ட் பண்ணினா காப்பி பண்ணி பேஸ்ட் பண்ணினா உங்களோட எங்களுடைய கேள்விகளுக்கு வந்து நீங்க பதிலளிக்க கூடியதாக இருக்கும். அடுத்தது வந்து உங்களை ஒரு குறிப்பிட்ட டைமுக்கு பிறகு ஒரு மணித்தியாலத்துக்கு பிறகு பிரசன்டேஷன் முடிஞ்சதும் நாங்க வந்து உங்களை குழுக்களாக குரூப்ஸ் 2 குரூப்பாக பிரிச்சு குரூப் ஒர்க், அதாவது பார்ட்டிசிபேட்டரி டிஸ்கஷன், கலந்துரையாடல்கள்ல வந்து நாங்க ஈடுபடுத்துவோம். ஸோ அந்த டைம்ல பிரேக் அவுட் குரூப்ஸுக்கு உங்களை ஜாயின் பண்றதுக்கு ரிக்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணும்போது நீங்க அதுல ஜாயின் பட்டன், அதாவது குரூப் 1 2 வந்து நாங்க உங்களை பிரிச்சு குரூப்ல வந்து உங்களை போடும்போது நீங்க அதை ஜாயின் பட்டனை கிளிக் பண்ணீங்கன்னா நீங்க ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்கலி அந்த குரூப் 1க்கோ இல்ல குரூப் 2க்கோ உங்களுக்கு சைன் பண்ணின குரூப்புக்கு நீங்க போவீங்க. ஸோ அந்த அது ஒரு கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 30 செகண்ட்ஸ் எடுக்கும் அந்த டைம், அதுக்குள்ள அந்த ஜாயின் பண்றதுக்கு. ஸோ அந்த டைம்ல நீங்க வந்து மீட்டிங்கை விட்டு லீவ் பண்ணாம கொஞ்சம் பொறுமையா வெயிட் பண்ணீங்கன்னா உங்களோட பிரேக் அவுட் குரூப்புக்கு நீங்க போவீங்க. தமிதா.
Thank you, Ahalya. Right. So to start off, we will move to the first part, like where we will present what Like and Trust is and what we are doing and why this session is being conducted, the background to that. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
it's visible.
Yeah.
So this series of workshops, today we are focusing on the provinces of North, Central and Eastern provinces. The main idea of these provincial workshops are to integrate climate-related policies, plans and processes into the provincial level actions. We have a lot of national level programs such as the NDCs, the nationally determined contributions, then the national adaptation plan, and there are several other activities going on with related to climate action, which are directed from the international programs and needs to trickle down to the up to the grassroots level of the country. So it is very important that the provincial and local level actors are properly engaged in this process. So the idea of this workshop is to discuss those avenues, how to conduct those. Like and Trust is a not-for-profit think tank. We've started our work since 2016, mainly working in the areas of climate change adaptation, resilience, sustainable development, various environmental conservation and restoration activities, social justice and animal welfare activities. Our nature of work mainly includes legal and policy level research, conducting awareness creation, education, and also capacity building and training for a cross section of the society, like starting from youth, the government officers, the civil society actors, financial institutions, and different other entities. We also implement ground level action mainly for the purpose of bringing in ground level evidence into policy influencing. So those are the avenues of our the modalities of our work. At present, we have few projects going on. One project is the multi-actor partnership on climate and disaster risk financing, which is happening in Trincomalee and Anuradhapura districts. The idea here is to identify what are the tools and methodologies required to support farmers who face climate risk. Then we do addressing uplifting livelihoods and coastal conservation activities, especially the mangrove restoration and conservation. These conducted in the Putlam district and northern part in Mena and Putlam areas. Apart from that, overall in the country context, we are studying on human mobility in the context of climate change, how climate change impacts the human mobility within the country and from the country to outside. One of our key programs is the Global Youth Forum on Climate Change, where it has been conducted for 4 years. Last year was an international forum where youth from all around the world joined the forum. Then we also work in other countries like Africa, Southeast Asia and South Asia. We are supporting some of the countries to formulate their national adaptation plans. This project comes as a part of the project on participatory NDCs for a climate just response in a COVID-19 world. The project is funded by the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. Like and Trust is implementing partner, and also Chrysalis We started the project initially with the main ministries involved, the foreign ministry, the youth ministry, agriculture ministry, to start up the national processes and see how NDCs could be supported in the national processes, and then how different actors like the bankers, private sector, other academic institutions could engage in the process. So one thing that came up in these sessions was the need to engage provincial level actors in a strong and very effective manner. So this series of workshop came up as a result of those discussions, because it's very critical. The action happens at the ground level, in the provincial and local level. There it's a must for the actors to engage. So this is the background for this workshop to happen. ඉතාමත් ඉක්මනින් සඳහන් කරන්නම් මේ වැඩසටහන ආරම්භ වෙන්නේ කොහොමද කියන එක. ස්ලයික් ඇන්ඩ් ට්‍රස්ට් ආයතනය 2010 ඉඳලා වැඩ කරනවා. අපි විශේෂයෙන්ම පර්යේෂණ සහ ප්‍රතිපත්තිමය කටයුතු සම්බන්ධයෙන් ක්‍රියාත්මක වන ආයතනයක්. දේශගුණ විපර්යාස අනුහුරු වීම, ඒ වගේම පරිසර සංරක්ෂණය වැනි කටයුතු වල නිරත වෙනවා. අපේ කටයුතු විශේෂයෙන්ම යොමු වෙලා තියෙන්නේ පර්යේෂණ සහ පුහුණු දැනුවත් කිරීම, පුහුණු කටයුතු සම්බන්ධයෙන් තරුණ ප්‍රජාවකින් ඉඳලා රාජ්‍ය ආයතන, පෞද්ගලික ආයතන, ඒ වගේම අධ්‍යාපනික ආයතන හරහා මේ කටයුතු ක්‍රියාවලිය යනවා. ඒ වගේම අපි අන්තර්ජාතික වෙනත් රටවලවත් ක්‍රියාකාරකම් කරනවා. මේ ප්‍රධාන ව්‍යාපෘති මේ වන විට පැවැත්වෙන්නේ තිරිකුණාමලේ අනුරාධපුර දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා. දේශීය විපර්යාස නිසා ගොවි ජනතාවට සිදු වෙලා තියෙන හානි වලට කොහොමද හානි පූර්ණය කරන්න කියන කරුණු සම්බන්ධයෙන්, ඒ වගේම කඩුලාන ශාක සංරක්ෂණ සහ වෙරළ සංරක්ෂණ කටයුතු, අපද්‍රව්‍ය කළමනාකරණ කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් ව්‍යාපෘති ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා පුත්තලම සහ පුත්තලම හලාවත මන්නාරම ප්‍රදේශවල. ඊට අමතරව දේශගුණ විපර්යාස කොහොමද මේ පුද්ගලයන් අවතැන්වීමට බලපාන්නේ කියන කාරණේ ගැන වැඩ කටයුතු කරනවා. තරුණ සමාජයත් එක්ක, තරුණ ප්‍රජාවත් එක්ක කටයුතු කිරීම ප්‍රධාන කාර්යය ග්ලෝබල් ෆෝරම් ඔන් ක්ලයිමේට් චේන්ජ් කියන එක අපේ ප්‍රධානතම ව්‍යාපෘතියක්. විවිධ රටවල තරුණ ප්‍රජාව සමග දේශීය විපර්යාස සම්බන්ධයෙන් කටයුතු කරන ව්‍යාපෘතියක් එක. ඊට අමතරව විවිධ රටවල විශේෂයෙන්ම අප්‍රිකාව, දකුණු ආසියාව සහ අග්නිදිග ආසියානු රටවල ජාතික අනුහුරු වීම සැලසුම් හැදීමට අපේ ආයතනය උදව් කරනවා. මෙම වැඩසටහන ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්නේ අපේ ව්‍යාපෘතික කොටසක් විසින් ජර්මන් ෆෙඩරල් සමූහාණ්ඩුවේ සහයෝගයෙන් ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන වැඩසටහනක්. මූලිකව මෙහිදී අපි විදේශ කටයුතු අමාත්‍යාංශය, තරුණ කටයුතු අමාත්‍යාංශය, කෘෂිකර්ම අමාත්‍යාංශය ඇතුළු ප්‍රධාන රේකී අමාත්‍යාංශ සමගින් වැඩසටහන ආරම්භ කරලා ඊට පස්සේ විවිධ පාර්ශවකරුවන්, බැංකු ශාස්ත්‍රය, පෞද්ගලිකාංශය, අධ්‍යාපන ශාස්ත්‍රය වැනි පාර්ශවකරුවන් සමග සාකච්ඡා පැවැත්වුවා. මේ කොහොමද විශේෂයෙන්ම ජාතික මට්ටමේ ක්‍රියාවලි පළාත් මට්ටමට ගෙනියන්නේ කියලා. එහිදී ආපු ප්‍රධානතම කාරණේ තමයි පළාත් යාන්ත්‍රණය කාර්යක්ෂමව කොහොමද මේකට සම්බන්ධ කරගන්නේ කියන ඉතාමත්ම වැදගත් කාර්යයක් කියන එක. ඒ නිසා තමයි මේ වැඩසටහන ආරම්භ වෙන්නේ. ඒකේ ප්‍රතිඵලයක් විදිහට තමයි විශේෂයෙන්ම දේශීය විපර්යාස ලේකම් කාර්යාලයත් එක්ක සම්බන්ධ වෙලා මෙම වැඩසටහන ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්නේ. අහල්ය.
Yeah, thank you, Dhamita. இந்த கலந்துரையாடலுக்கு வந்திருக்கிற அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். எல்லாரையும் நாங்க மனதார வரவேற்கிறோம். இதுல பங்களிக்கிறதுக்கு மிகவும் நன்றி. இது வந்து எங்களோட நிறுவனத்தை பற்றி நாங்க சொல்ல வெளிக்கிட்டா, ஸ்லைக் அண்ட் ட்ரஸ்ட் வந்து ஒரு லாப நோக்கமற்ற விதத்துல பாலிசி, லீகல் பாலிசி, சயின்ஸ் பேஸ்ட் ரிசர்ச், அதாவது ரிசர்ச்சை வந்து பேஸ் பண்ணி ரிசர்ச் செய்யறதுக்காக நாங்க வந்து இளைஞர்களை ஊக்குவிக்கிறதுக்காகவும் காலநிலை மாற்றம் மற்றும் அடாப்டேஷன் அண்ட் ரெசிலியன்ஸ், அதாவது வரப்போற காலநிலை மாற்றம் சம்பந்தப்பட்ட அனைத்து விதமான இயற்கை அனர்த்தங்கள் சம்பந்தப்பட்ட அனைத்து விஷயங்களுக்கும் இலங்கை எப்படி வந்து ப்ரிப்பேர் பண்றது, அதாவது இப்படி இலங்கை மக்கள் வந்து அதை காலநிலை மாற்றம் தொடர்பான விடயங்களுக்கு முகம் கொடுக்கிறது தொடர்பாக இளைஞர்கள் மற்றது மக்கள் அனைவரையும் முன்னேற்றத்துக்கு என்ன விதமான எந்த இடங்கள்ல இலங்கை வந்து எந்த இடங்கள்ல இலங்கைக்கு வந்து இம்ப்ரூவ்மெண்ட், அதாவது லீகல் அண்ட் பாலிசி சம்பந்தப்பட்ட சட்ட மற்றும் பாலிசி சம்பந்தப்பட்ட விடயங்கள்ல இலங்கை வந்து எந்தெந்த இடங்கள்ல வந்து தங்களை முன்னேற்றிக் கொள்ள வேண்டும் என்றதுக்காக நாங்க வந்து ரிசர்ச் பேஸ்டா நாங்க ஒரு ஒர்க் பண்ற ஒரு நிறுவனம் தான் ஸ்லைக் அண்ட் ட்ரஸ்ட். நாங்க 2016 இருந்து இந்த நடவடிக்கைகளை நாங்க முன்னெடுத்து கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். இதுல வந்து மல்டி ஸ்டேக் ஹோல்டர் பார்ட்டிசிபேஷன். ஸோ உங்களோட முக்கியமான ஒரு நோக்கம் வந்து வித்தியாசமான அதாவது பல்வேறு துறைகள்ல இருக்கிற மக்கள், வல்னரபிள் கம்யூனிட்டிஸ், அவங்களோட பார்ட்டிசிபேஷன் எல்லாரையும் வந்து ஒருங்கிணைக்கிற மாதிரியான ரிசர்ச் மெத்தடு நடவடிக்கைகளை செய்யறதுதான் எங்களுடைய முக்கிய நோக்கம். எல்லாம் இது தொடர்பாகத்தான் இந்த கலந்துரையாடலும் நடைபெற இருக்குது. நாங்க வேற வேற இது ஸ்லைக் அண்ட் ட்ரஸ்ட் வந்து வேற வேற விதமான நடவடிக்கைகளும் செயல்முறைகளும் வந்து நாங்க மேற்கொண்டு கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். கண்டல் தாவரங்களை வந்து ரீஸ்டோர் பண்றது, மற்றது ஜஸ்ட் டிரான்சிஷன் விடயங்கள், ஜஸ்ட் டிரான்சிஷன் தொடர்பான முன்னெடுக்கைகள், மற்றது யூத் ஃபோரம், குளோபல் யூத் ஃபோரம் என்று சொல்லி அதாவது காலநிலை மாற்றம் தொடர்பாக வெவ்வேறு நாட்டில இருக்கிற இளைஞர்கள், அவங்கள் மூலம் மற்றது இலங்கையில இருக்கிற இளைஞர்கள் அவங்க வந்து கலந்துரையாட விட்டு அவங்களுக்குள்ள ஒரு கோஆர்டினேஷன், ஒரு ஒருங்கிணைப்பை வந்து ஏற்படுத்துறது. அது தொடர்பாகத்தான் நாங்க வந்து முக்கியமாக செயற்பட்டு கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். இந்த கலந்துரையாடல் இந்த இடத்துல இருக்கிற, அதாவது நீங்க எப்ப இணைஞ்சிருக்கிற கலந்துரையாடல் வந்து நாங்க மாகாண மட்டத்துல, அதாவது காலநிலை மாற்றம் சம்பந்தமாக நேஷனல் பிளான், அதாவது நேஷனல் கிளைமேட் ஆக்ஷன் பிளான், அதை வந்து இலங்கை முன்னெடுக்க வேண்டும். அது தொடர்பாக நாங்க வந்து அதை இம்ப்ளிமெண்ட் பண்றதுக்காக இருக்கிற தேவைகளை மக்கள் வந்து மல்டிபிள் ஸ்டேக் ஹோல்டர்ஸ் இது தொடர்பாக என்ன நினைக்கிறாங்க, எந்த இடத்துல இலங்கை வந்து முன்னேற்றம் அடைய வேண்டும், எந்த இடத்துல வீக் பாயிண்ட் இருக்குது, இது தொடர்பான விஷயங்களை கலந்துரையாடுறதுக்காக தான் நாங்க வந்து அனைத்து மாகாண மட்டங்களுக்கு இடையிலான கலந்துரையாடலை நாங்க மேற்கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். ஸோ அதனாலதான் நீங்க வந்து இதுல பார்ட்டிசிபேட் பண்ணிருக்கீங்க. இன்னும் இது தொடர்பாக பிரசன்டேஷன்ஸ் இருக்குது. அதுக்கு பிறகு உங்களை வந்து குரூப்ஸா பிரிச்சு, குழுக்களா பிரிச்சு, உங்களுடைய சொந்த பர்சனல் தோட்ஸ், அதாவது பர்சனல் உங்களுடைய கருத்துக்கள் நீங்க அனைத்தையும் வந்து பதிவு செய்யக்கூடியதாக அந்த குழு செயற்பாடு அமையும். சமிதா.
Thank you, Ahalya. Ruani, can we go to the Menti or should we wait for a while? Shall we go to the other presentation?
Yes, Damita, could we actually just go on to the first presentation and then we will come back?
Right.
Yes, I'll have it.
The first presentation is actually about how the climate change impacts the specific provinces that we are discussing today. The original presentation was to be done by Dr. Punyavardhana, but unfortunately due to a very personal reason, he is not able to do the presentation, but he has sent us the presentation. So I will present on behalf of Dr. Punyavardhana. First, our thank goes to Dr. Punyavardhana. Even during this very difficult situation, he sent the presentation midnight yesterday after going through very much difficulties. Right. So let's look at how the climate is impacting the specific provinces, especially looking at the agroecological regions. I'm having a bit of a slide transition issue.
Is there anything I can do from my end, Amita? Okay, till Damitas, I believe we are having a bit of technical difficulties today. Till then, if everyone could fill in our registration form,
yeah.
which is in the link at the moment, this would help us, basically connect with you and make sure that you are aware of all the workshops and everything that we conduct. Damita, if you're ready,
Okay, Rwani. Seems to be working.
Okay. Perfect.
Is it visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Yes, visible. Yes,
Still, it's not.
Today seems to be a bit, today the evening session seems to be a bit of troublesome when it comes to technical difficulties. Just to go through everything again, I'm just checking if everyone had the chance to fill in our registration form. And just to run through our sessions again so that we are all aware, we will be going into 2 presentations, and then following which we will be looking at a group discussion where we are going to have 2 groups, one a general group with all participants, and then another youth group where we would be speaking on the issues or the solutions or the problems at the provincial levels when it comes to how youth can get involved. And that is going to be a very interesting conversation that we are all looking forward to. Again, apologies from our end on the technical difficulties. If Damit is ready, we could go on.
Slides are not transitioning for some
Slides
reason.
are not transitioning.
Yeah, when I go to sharing, only it happens. Like in the computer, it is.
Yes.
So could it be issue with the Zoom?
Yes. So if you could, maybe if one of us could share it, if you could share it with us, we can do that. Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining on a Wednesday afternoon. Again, bear with us till we get our technical difficulties sorted.
And also just to add what Rwani said, if you do have questions or clarifications regarding presentations or anything, just to discuss sort of things, you can just use the chat box. Please do keep the conversation going in the chat box. We can try to answer, or we can try to discuss as much as questions as possible. And also you can
sorry for jumping in. Can we ask Ambika to see if her presentation could be done now from the Climate Change Secretary?
Ambika? I'm sorry, Ambika, we are having a little bit of a technical difficulty from our end, and we'd like to check with you if it is possible.
Miss Rwandi?
Yes.
Miss Rwandi, I'm Chamani here.
Yes, hi, Chamani.
And just this time I'm going to present the presentation because Ambika is having another meeting.
Yes.
So can I share my slides? And I need the facility, no? Share the screen.
You are able to share your slides now, Chamani.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No problem. Okay. If you could put it in presentation mode, then we can proceed. Okay, thank you. Over to you, Ms. Chamini. She is representing as the Assistant Director at Climate Change Secretariat at the Ministry of Environment. And we are very pleased to have you here today, Ms. Chamini. I am going to hand over the floor to you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Saikan, and thank you, Ms. Ruvani. Good afternoon to all. And actually, hope everybody from the government organizations, our collaborative partners are there with us today. And I'm pleased to be with you all to make some points on our government role as the major stakeholder in initiating climate change initiatives. So before coming to the presentation, actually, as we all know, climate change is a complex phenomenon that's spread all over the sectors and every strata of the society. So once Sri Lanka has placed among the top 10 countries at risk of extreme weather event by the global risk index, German watch. And so let me here brief some of the initiatives that is taken by especially the Ministry of Environment and especially the Climate Change Secretariat. And presentation is focusing at the climate change initiatives and roles and responsibilities of provincial level actors. So, and when we talk about the climate vulnerability in Sri Lanka, you know, all know the climate, Sri Lanka is an island country, and we face extreme climate events and all these issues because of the sudden climatic changes in the globe. So being a tropical island, as I said earlier, the flash floods and landslides, the prolonged droughts and sea level rise are some of the major concerns that our countries face today. We are having some geographical issues specified for different regions of Sri Lanka. For example, the wet zone and lowlands are prone to floods, and whereas the dry zone experience prolonged droughts. And the coastal regions of Sri Lanka is having some sea level rise and as well as the saltwater intrusions and such that kind of some issues. And mainly the central highlands is prone to landslides. And
I'm sorry, Ms. Chamini, your presentation slides are not changing. I'm just checking with you if you are changing the slides from your end.
Yeah, is the second slide now? Is that so?
No, we are still on the first.
Now, can you see?
If we are still on the first slide, Ms. Chamini.
Maybe the same problems as with Damit. Is that
yes,
so? My screen is moving the slides.
Yes, maybe if you could. Okay, now we are.
I can see my slides.
Now it is okay. Now we are on the second slide, Ms. Chamini.
It's okay.
Yes, now we are on.
Okay. So as I said earlier, it's okay, no? A small delay, I think, transferring the thing. So when talk about the major impacts of climate change in Sri Lanka, we experience it's cross-cutting all over the sectors, whereas the economic sectors as well as the social strata, as I said earlier. The major sectors that are of concern are the food security and the mainly related areas are the agriculture, livestock and fisheries sector, whereas health and diseases, where communicable diseases and due to temperature and rainfall patterns, these vector-borne diseases may spread, and we experience somewhat very challenging environment in this health sectors. So water and irrigation is another sector that we experience some prolonged droughts and some, some groundwater intrusions and all that. So water resources is at a risk. And apart from that, the coastal and marine resources, as an island country that is surrounded by the ocean, we experiences a lot of threats to coastal and marine resources, as well as we are considered as one of the rich biodiversity hotspots, and our ecosystem is threatening by the prolonged, different types of environmental and climatic factors adversely impact on these ecosystems and biodiversity. So when we talk about the human settlements and infrastructure sector, it is actually we are concerning, we are more or less focusing on the human aspects, and we are experience different types of hazardous disasters due to this changes of climate impacts. So industry and energy and transportation are some of the highly economic sectors, and these are also threatened by the climatic concerns. And the tourism and recreation, where the island is very much dependent for the economic gains and all. So all these sectors crossing all over these sectors, this impact the climate change go to the link with the global initiatives, and after about 2 decades, Sri Lanka is striving its best to combat this issue, and we are trying to address all scopes of these issues, and we have prioritized these things. And so all of these things coupled with the international initiatives as well. So the first is, I want to highlight this, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. This is the UNFCCC. This was adopted in Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro in 1992. It was the very focused convention that we ratified as a country, and Sri Lanka ratified the UNFCCC in 1993. And the objective of the UNFCCC is to stabilize the greenhouse gases to stabilize the greenhouse gas concentrations in the atmosphere, that would prevent dangerous atmospheric interference with the climatic systems, anthropogenic interference with the climatic systems. So we first attempts is to stabilize the greenhouse gas the UNFCCC. And Sri Lanka, the next step is going to, we have ratified the Kyoto Protocol in the year 2002. And main focus is to reduce the focus for the developed countries. And the next initiative is with the Paris Agreement, and here all parties of the UNFCCC has to comply to this Paris Agreement, and all are bound to this agreement. And the objective is there were 3 objectives. First is to hold the increase of global average temperature to well below 2.2 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial level, and all our efforts should limit the temperature, if possible, to 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial level. And the Paris Agreement, the next objective of the main concern of the agreement is to increase the ability to adopt the adverse impacts of climate change and develop or strengthen the climate presence activity, and to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. So both the adaptation of the resilience action and the greenhouse gas mitigation actions was focused. Then the next is to get financial to provide financial assistance and mechanisms, formulate them to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and to adopt some climate resilience initiatives or developments. So with these objectives, the Paris Agreement has come into power, and Sri Lanka was party to it, and Sri Lanka has, in accordance with this Paris Agreement and in accordance with the UNFCCC obligations, Sri Lanka has made some big steps. Sri Lanka has contributed in some, for example, national communications were done accordingly. So I'll talk to them, I'll explain them later. And for the time being, so the UN, for the UNFCCC, the Kyoto Protocol, the Paris Agreement, major climate global climate agreements and decisions. The Minister of Environment is the national focal point. So being the national focal point, the Minister of Environment and specifically the Climate Change Secretariat has, established in year 2008. And with this, we have, the national level climatic efforts to combat climate change and vulnerability issues in the country was addressed, in specifically and as a holistic manner. And as the Climate Change Secretariat, it was the main decision-making body for the environment of Sri Lanka. And attached to the Climate Change Secretariat, there are some other expert committees established to get their expert inputs to channel this, addressing aspects in a right manner. So one of that is the establishment of Interagency Coordination Committee in Climate Change. The next is the establishment of National Expert Committee on Climate Change Adaptation. And the other one is the establishment of National Expert Committee on Climate Change Mitigation. So the Adaptation Expert Committee and the Mitigation Expert Committee worked on the the national level necessities, and they are channeled through the Interagency Coordinating Committee in order to facilitate the implementation, as the Interagency Coordinating Committee represents all the implementing partners, major implementing partners that are related to climate change in the country. So if you need more information, our website is there. It's the climatesect.lk, and you can visit the website and you can get some sort of a detailed understanding of the initiatives taken by the Climate Change Secretariat and the national level knowledge sharing documents and so on. So next I'll move to the how the national, excuse me for 1 minute. And the first initiative, the overarching policy came into power. It's the climate change, seeking the climate change aspects. So in climate change policy came into power in year 2012, and it covers the broad aspects such as the sensitize and make aware of the communities periodically on the country's vulnerability to climate change. And it identified the adaptive measures, and it identified the mitigation, how to mitigate the greenhouse gas emissions and promote sustainable consumption and production in the country while seeking the while addressing the climate change issues, and enhancing knowledge on different multifaceted issues related to climate change in the society and build their capacities to make prudent choices in decision making. And apart from that, as a whole, to develop the country's capacity to address the impacts of climate change effectively and efficiently. And as the other end, climate change mainstreaming and integrating climate change aspects into national development planning was done and identified in the national climate change policy. The next one is the National Climate Change Strategy and Adaptation Strategy, which came into focus in year 2011 and 2016, and their objectives were identified based on that, based on the priorities at that time, and 5 thrust areas consisting in this document. And the first is to mainstream climate change adaptation into national planning and development. As I said earlier, it covers under the national policy as well, enabling climate resilient and healthy human settlements, minimize climate change impacts on food security, improve climate resilience and key economic drivers, and safeguard natural resources and biodiversity from climate change impacts. So next step, the main milestone in Sri Lanka's climate change actions is the National Adaptation Plan. And it focuses the years 2016 to 2025. And it covers the following most vulnerable sectors. It covers 9 vulnerable sectors. And apart from that, NAP, or the National Climate Change Adaptation Plan, it's in 2 levels. First is to as the sector vulnerability as well as the cropping national needs. So the document identified, in a broad sectors that is vulnerable to climate change. And as I said earlier, national the information gaps, technological gaps, policy and governance gaps, institutional coordination gaps, resource mobilization gaps. And in that document, we have identified the key stakeholders as the government, private sector, civil society organizations, academia, research organization, and all. It was the first document. This is very comprehensive document, and it covers adaptation needs, adaptation options, and individual actions, then resources, how to mobilize resources, and KPIs also, key performance indicators as well. But so it was a major, major milestone. And there are, as we discussed today, the community-based organizations, the CSOs as identified in this document, the role that can be played by CBOs and all is the first one that has to identify this aspect in detail, So apart from that, as I said earlier, in year 2014, technology needs assessment for different sectors for adaptation and mitigations. There were 2 comprehensive assessment carried out. Focusing adaptation sector, the food security, health, biodiversity, coastal and water sectors, as well as the mitigation sector covered energy, industry and transport, and the identification of technologies, if there are prioritizations, and what are the barriers in carrying out these technology improvements and all. So, and apart from that, the technology action plans were also designed, and the development of some project ideas were also incorporated in those assessment, and at that, based on the priorities at that time. So, and the other main, as I said earlier, the national communications as a party or as an obligatory country to United Nations Environment Framework Convention, UNFCCC, Sri Lanka is obliged to actually communicate with UNFCCC our national documents. The first national communication, the second national communication, and the third national communication is to be the base year for the second communication strategy is year 2012, and it was submitted in year 2016, and the third national communication is supposed to be submitted soon. And where is this national documents of climate change consist of greenhouse gas emission status of the country. So based on the ground level calculations and assessments and some assumptions, based on some assumptions, the greenhouse gas emissions were calculated and been communicated to the UNFCCC as a country, as that is the developing country, and our commitments as well has been communicated accordingly. So the next step was the nationally determined contributions. As short form, it says NDCs of Sri Lanka. Right now, the first NDCs was submitted twice before, and the updates were done, and the latest was submitted in year 2016, and right now the national NDCs update process is going on, and the priorities were more or less pre-identified, and they have been aligning with the Saubhagya document and all that, and they have been adjusted with SMART principles and all. And for example, for this national document is consisting of chapters, mitigation chapters, as well as the adaptation chapters, and based on our economic priorities and vulnerabilities of the sector as greenhouse gas emitting sectors, transport, industry, forestry, and wastewater sectors have been identified as mitigation sectors, adaptation sectors. Also, under eight thematic areas has been considered. From that's come to every sector of implementation, the financials, the technological and development needs, and capacity building have been actually incorporated to this national document. So at the same time, I should say this national NDCs implementation and monitoring plan preparation is also going on, and it will cover for another 10 years. So each activity level thing have been identified in the process, and provincial will also soon be come into play with this national effort soon. So the next is what we have focused, as we focused in this workshop, the preparation of national national provincial action plans. So as I said earlier, the national adaptation plan has also identified the need of provincial action plans. That by only that initiatives we can go to the grassroots level and tackle these climatic effects and vulnerabilities in a more effective and efficient manner, to reach give the more share the benefits with all the communities similarly. So in that NAP, national provincial action plans, developing institutional and coordination mechanism was suggested. So the provincial level clients to implement the sectoral adaptation measures for mainstream climate change to development planning, especially at provincial level, has been identified. And when we talk about the provincial action plan, it should undertake, it should incorporate, or it should consist of identifying risk at the provincial levels. There may be certain climatic issues that are unique to specific provinces and so on. Then prioritization, prioritizing adaptation measures, and determining how to implement the climate resilient activities or adaptation activities for various sectors, and as well the climate capacity building aspects of all local stakeholders. They all have to be identified in this provincial action plan in detail. So for this, we have suggested the institutional mechanism as provincial climate cells and units. And the aim is to multi-stakeholder coordination, the coordination with all the stakeholder organization and all the role players of this climatic arena. So the other thing is to establishing a data sharing portal at provincial level, which can channel to make the decisions very accurate data, very timely data, and very relevant data. So the need is therefore put decision making process, and then only the right decisions will take further actions. So let me briefly describe how this provincial climate institutional setup is consisting of. And as I said earlier, this is the provincial climate cell, and this is a provincial climate unit. And the provincial climate cell is it's the decision-making body. And this provincial climate cell unit, we can consider it as the implementing arm. And provincial climate cell consists of, it's in my next slide, it consists of chief secretary and other provincial directors and so on. While you can see in this chart, the provincial climate unit is consisting of major stakeholders in the implementing part. Say for example, provincial ministries, provincial departments, district officers, NGOs, CBOs, CSOs, and private sector organizations, whereas universities, media, and all parties are responsible for this process. And then the implementation things are going on here, and the progress should be reported accordingly. Monitoring mechanisms are in operation, evaluation operations are in operation for this climate cell to make the decisions. And the role played by the Climate Change Secretariat or the Ministry of Environment is also as a convener or as an observer or as a guiding entity is there. So when come to the next slide, as I said earlier, the chairman of the climate cell is the chief secretary for the province. The members may be consisting of several these provincial directors of different sectors, and several other stakeholders, interested parties, academia, private sector also are inside this climate cell. And the convener may be the chief officer of provincial climate unit. The meeting frequency can be determined as per the need. And these are actually the members for the climate cell can be, can be think upon, and for the best to happen, we can invite the other persons or other relevant parties, and the convener also can be changed as per the needs and as per the desire of the chief secretary in charge of the provinces. And the main part of the climate cell is, as I said earlier, is the decision-making role for implement the climate change adaptation and mitigation actions at provincial level, and integrate climate change adaptation and mitigation actions into provincial policies, decision-making, these action plans and development plan also is there. So they can act as a project steering committee. For example, there may be separate projects are underway targeting different aspects aspects of climate change. So this cell can act as an integrated entity to advise on those well-being for ultimately for benefiting the communities. Then identification of gaps and limitation in the implementation of policy strategies and action plan in all sectors, adaptation sectors as well as mitigation sectors. Then identification of financial needs, technology needs, and capacity building needs are also lies with them. The provide as and the other thing is they will provide overall guidance for all the relevant sectors to address these issues, especially in adaptation sectors. And other activities can also be incorporated to the TORO role in the provincial scenario. The next step is, as I said, the climate unit. It consists of the provincial director planning. Maybe this thing will be according to the need, and the supporting staff, the assistant directors in relevant departments, development officers, and relevant other technical personnel will assist in this process for the implementation part of the provincial adaptation activities mainly. And as I said earlier, it's the formulation and implementation of provincial adaptation plans, the implementation of decisions mainly taken at the provincial climate cell, and filling the gaps, whatever gaps they are, audit with them, having dialogue and communicate to the relevant parties whenever applicable, and facilitation to incorporate climate change into development planning and planning in provincial levels. So the developing mechanisms to implement what are the innovative things that we could do, and what are the integrated approaches then to address the provincial vulnerability aspects and so on. So and other is it may act as a monitoring and evaluation entity, as well as in preparing project proposals and so on, and being identified the grassroots level vulnerability things, climate change issues at grassroots level. They can come out with project proposals and obtain required data related to climate change aspects. Say, for example, they can channel to the national communication documents as well as for decision-making processes, and we have to certify an accuracy of the data as well. So, so if they are having, chain linked to gather the relevant information and accurate information, timely information, it will facilitate the decision-making process as well. So overall, as facilitate the coordination between provincial council and the climate change secretariat as well, and to obtain required facilities also. They can come out with their own proposals, what are the needs, requirement at community levels, and how to integrate the things at this provincial level. So, and this is the main role is played by the by them, and this is actually this is what is directly relevant to today's today's workshop. And this, as I said earlier, the national adaptation plan as well as the national provincial adaptation plan that we are going to initiate very recent in the very soon. The role of the plays by CBOs identified in this process, the role that the CBOs can play can be identified. So gaining knowledge on different climate change impacts, causes, consequences, and remedial actions to be taken, to build resilience and to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. That means they should be more knowledgeable in order to function in their own. So apart from that, identification of climate-induced issues as grassroots level and at community level, and provide inputs for the preparation of especially the provincial adaptation plans. And next is to raise awareness among the community, vulnerable communities maybe, or the others. They can interlink with other CBOs and make a role, a collaborative role to address these vulnerability issues and come out with different resilient, adaptive, innovative activities. So apart from that, they can assist government to prepare policies, strategies, action plan, projects, and programs to address climate change issues at provincial level. And apart from that, they can assist the government or the provincial authorities to implement the climate change related projects and programs. So the field level officials can be interlinked with this interlinked, and the implementation of the projects can be done. So they can see different sorts of financial mechanisms are there with the, say for example, climate change secretariat or other entities, UN entities, say for example, Green Climate, the Adaptation Fund, and the GEF. There are different financial arms for who are willing to support these entities. Maybe they have to channel through the nationally designated entities or the climate change, but still they can come out with the grassroots level proposals, innovative ideas in order to find some financial resources in order to implement their actions at the grassroots level or the provincial level. So apart from that, conduct researches, studies, assessment for the sake of community well-being, or to combat the climate change issue. So researchers and will or assessment will updated knowledge channel to the inline mainstream, make the correct decisions at the correct time. So they can also act as an intermediator between the government government, well as the national, provincial, district level parties, as well as the communities. So they can make connections with all they can interlink, can act as intermediator. So as I said, collect information and data at grassroots level is an important measure to decision-making process. So and any other mechanism, say they can say, for example, they can act as teams, champions. So champion teams to address the issues at their surrounding level, regional level, and so on. So I think as the need was highlighted, the all stakeholder engagement, the importance of all stakeholder engagement is being identified for a couple of, decades ago, and now it has come into the operational level, and the Minister of Environment as well as provincial level, other parties will also line up in this national exercise to address these climate issues at the provincial level in time to come. In very recent future, I should say very frankly. And I think you can play a big role and a big challenge for country to thrive on, or to climate change issue we all are facing, and in the future aggravating systems. So with that, I conclude my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chamani from the Climate Change Secretariat. That was a very descriptive presentation.
Okay.
In the interest of time, I will very quickly translate to Sinhala and then Ahalya will translate to Tamil. දේශගුණික පරාස ලේකම් කාර්යාලය ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමෙන් පෙන්වේ ඇතරම කොහොමද අන්තර්ජාතික නිර්ණායක කෙනෙක් අන්තර්ජාතිකව තියෙන විශේෂයෙන්ම එක්සත් ජාතීන් UNFCCC එක සහ විවිධ ක්‍රමවේද යටතේ කොහොමද ජාතික සැලසුම් හැදෙන්නේ ඒවා කොහොමද පළාත් මට්ටමට ගෙනියන්නේ කියන කාරණය පැහැදිලිව විස්තර කරා. ඒතර මේ වන විට අපිට තියෙනවා දේශගුණික පරාස සම්බන්ධව ප්‍රතිජාතික ප්‍රතිපත්තියක් වසර 2012 දී ඉදිරිපත් කරපු ඒ වගේම වසර 2016 දී හදපු ජාතික අනුහුරු සැලැස්ම අපි NAP කියලා කියන අනුහුරු සැලැස්ම තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම තාක්ෂණික අවශ්‍යතා සම්බන්ධයෙන් කරපු අධ්‍යයනයක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට දේශන විපර්යාස වලට අනුහුරු වීමට සහ ඒ වගේම දේශන විපර්යාස වැළැක්වීමට මොන වගේ තාක්ෂණයන්ද භාවිත කළ යුත්තේ කියන අධ්‍යයන කරපු මේ දත්යන් දේශන විපර්යාස ලේකම් කාර්යාලය සතුව තියෙනවා. එතකොට ඊළඟ අවශ්‍යතාවය තමයි මේ අනුහුරු සැලැස්ම කොහොමද පළාත් මට්ටමට ගෙනියන්නේ කියන කාරණය. ඒක ඉතාමත්ම වැදගත් වෙනවා. මොකද සීලුම ක්‍රියාවලින් වෙන්නේ පළාත් සහ එතනින් පල්ලෙහාට තියෙන බිම් මට්ටමේ ක්‍රියාකාරීත්වය හරහා. එතකොට මේ ජාතික සැලසුම් සාර්ථක වෙන්න නම් ඉතාමත්ම සාර්ථක පළාත් සැලසුම් අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. තවත් කාරණයක් තමයි ජාතිකව නිර්ණය වූ දායකත්වය. ඒ කියන්නේ NDCs Nationally Determined Contributions මේ විදිහට නැවත අලුත් කරනවා. එතකොට විවිධ ක්ෂේත්‍රවල මේ සැලසුම් වලට අපි රටක් හැටියට වග කියන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට මේවා අපි ජාතික වශයෙන් නිර්ණය කළාට ඒක ක්‍රියාත්මක වීමේදී අදාළ රේඛීය අමාත්‍යාංශ හරහා පළාත් මට්ටමින් පහළට ගලාගෙන යා යුතුයි. ඒක නිසා එම කාරණාවලදීත් දායකත්ව දැකීමට පළාත් මට්ටමින් සහ එතනින් ඔබට විවිධ ශේත්‍ර පාර්ශවකරුවන්ගේ දායකත්වය අවශ්‍ය වෙන බව සඳහන් කළ එතුමිය. විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ පළාත් අනුහුරු සැලැස්ම provincial adaptation plans පළාත් වලට ගෙනෙද්දී අපිට දැන් ජාතික මට්ටමේ නම් තියෙන දේශගුණික පරාස ලේකම් කාර්යාලය. නමුත් පළාත් මට්ටමේ විශේෂිත ආයතනයක් නැහැ. එතකොට එම හේතු උඩම යෝජනා කරනවා පළාත් ක්ලයිමට් සෙල් එක සහ ක්ලයිමට් යුනිට් එක කියලා ආයතන දෙකක් විශේෂිත ආයතන නෙවෙයි දැනට ඉන්න නිලධාරී මණ්ඩල සහ ඒ දෙපාර්තමේන්තු අමාත්‍යාංශවල නියෝජිතයන් මාර්ගයෙන්ම මේ දේශගුණික පරාස කටයුතු කළමනාකරණය කිරීම සඳහා යාන්ත්‍රණයක් යෝජනා කරලා තියෙනවා. මේ ගැන තමයි චමනි ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමෙන් ප්‍රකාශ කළේ. Ahalya, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Damita. So in the presentation வந்து எல்லா விதத்திலையுமே எல்லா விதமான விடயங்களையுமே மிஸ் சாமனி கன்சிடர் பண்ணி அதை வந்து சொல்லியிருந்தாங்க. அதாவது காலநிலை மாற்ற செயலகத்துல இருந்து அவங்களுக்கு இந்த தேவையான அனைத்து விதமான விடயங்களையும் உங்களுக்கு கொடுத்திருந்தாங்க. சுருக்கமா சொல்ல போனா காலநிலை மாற்றம் தொடர்பாக 2016ஆம் ஆண்டு பாரிஸ் அக்ரிமெண்ட்ல இலங்கை வந்து இலங்கை கையெழுத்து வச்சு அவங்க வந்து காலநிலை மாற்றம் தொடர்பாக இலங்கைக்கு நடக்க இருக்கிற அனைத்து விதமான அதாவது வல்னரபிள் கம்யூனிட்டிஸ் அவங்க பாதிப்படையக்கூடிய வல்னரபிள் செக்டர் அதாவது 9 துறைகள்ல பாதிப்படையக்கூடிய விதத்துல இலங்கை வந்து இருக்கிற பட்சத்துல இலங்கை வந்து இப்படி ப்ரிப்பேர்டா இருக்கணும். அதாவது எப்படி வந்து இலங்கையை தயார்படுத்துறதுன்றதுக்காகத்தான் NDCs NAPs வந்து 2016ஆம் ஆண்டிலிருந்து இலங்கை முன்னெடுத்து கொண்டிருக்குது. இது தொடர்பாக NDCs வந்து நாங்க இலங்கை வந்து காலநிலை மாற்றத்துக்கு என்னென்ன விதமான நடவடிக்கைகளை ஏற்படுத்த வேணும், அதுக்கு என்ன செயற்முறைகளை வந்து அவங்க செய்ய வேணும், இது தொடர்பாக என்னென்ன திட்டங்கள் வகுக்கப்பட வேண்டும், யார் யார் இதுல பங்கு பெற்ற வேணும், இது போன்ற விடயங்களை வந்து NDC வந்து முன்னெடுத்து கொள்றதுக்காக தான் NDCs இருக்குது. அதே நேரத்துல அடாப்டேஷன் அதாவது வருமுன் காக்குறது மாதிரி வரப்போற விஷயங்களுக்கு வரப்போற பாதிப்புகள் அனர்த்தங்கள் எல்லாவற்றுக்கும் காலநிலை தொடர்பாக வரப்போற அனர்த்தங்கள் அனைத்துக்குமே இலங்கை வந்து எப்படி தாங்களே தயார்படுத்திக் கொள்ளணும்ன்றதுக்காக நேஷனல் அடாப்டேஷன் பிளான் NAPS வந்து அதுவும் வந்து தேசிய மட்டங்கள்ல இலங்கை வந்து தயார்படுத்தி இருந்தது. ஸோ அதன் ஒரு பகுதியாகத்தான் இந்த மாகாண மட்ட அதாவது தேசிய மட்ட இலக்குகளை வந்து அடைகிறதுக்காக டாப் டு பாட்டம் அப்ரோச் மாதிரி ப்ரொவின்ஷியல் கவுன்சில்ஸ் ப்ரொவின்ஷியல் கிளைமேட் செல், அதாவது மாகாண காலநிலை குழுக்கள், காலநிலை மாற்ற குழுக்கள் மற்றும் பிராந்திய மட்ட குழுக்களை அமைத்து அவங்கள் மூலமாக பார்ட்டிசிபேட்டரி அப்ரோச், அதாவது பாதிப்படையக்கூடிய துறைகள், பாதிப்புக்குட்படுத்தப்பட்ட துறைகள், காலநிலை மாற்றம், இதுக்கு எப்படி மக்கள் மற்றும் சூழல் ரெண்டும் எப்படி தயார்படுத்தப்பட வேண்டும் என்ற நிலையில இலங்கை இந்த இனிஷியேஷன், இது காலநிலை மாற்ற செயலகத்தால இந்த பிராந்திய மட்ட மற்றது மாகாண மட்ட குழுக்கள் அமைக்கப்பட்டு இன்னும் வெகு சீக்கிரத்துல குழுக்கள் அமைக்கப்பட்டு அவங்கள் மூலமாக செயற்திட்டங்கள் மற்றது ஒர்க் ஷாப்ஸ், கெப்பாசிட்டி பில்டிங் போன்ற அனைத்து விதமான விடயங்களையும் மேற்கொண்டு அதன் மூலம் மாகாண மட்டங்கள்ல சிறிய அளவுல நாங்க இலக்குகளை அடைஞ்சி தேசிய மட்ட இலக்குகளை நிறைவு செய்வதுதான் இந்த பாரிஸ் அக்ரிமெண்ட் மற்றது UNFCCC இலங்கை கொடுக்க வேண்டிய ஒரு பங்களிப்பு. ஸோ அந்த பங்களிப்பின் ஒரு பகுதியாகத்தான் இந்த ஒர்க் ஷாப், இந்த பிரசன்டேஷன், இந்த ஒர்க் ஷாப். இது மல்டிபிள் ஸ்டேக் ஹோல்டர் இன்வால்வ்மெண்ட், அதாவது பல்வேறுபட்ட பங்குதாரர்கள், அவர்களுடைய கலந்துரையாடல்கள், அதன் மூலம் அதாவது வருங்காலத்துல என்ன விதமான திட்டங்கள் முன்னெடுக்கப்பட முடியும் என்றத கலந்துரையாடுறதுக்காக இது ஒரு ஆரம்ப புள்ளியாக அமையும். இதுல உங்களுடைய கருத்துக்கள் அனைத்தையும், உங்களுக்கு தேவையான விடயங்கள் அனைத்தையும் chat பாக்ஸ்லயோ இல்ல உங்களை அன்மியூட் பண்ணிட்டு நீங்க எங்களோட கலந்துரையாடலாம். எந்த மொழியிலையுமே கலந்துரையாடலாம், தமிழ், சிங்களம், ஆங்கிலம் எல்லாத்துலயுமே நாங்க உங்களோட கலந்துரையாடி ஒரு பதில தர்றதுக்கு மேக்சிமம் நாங்க உங்களுக்கான பதில்களை நாங்க தர்றதுக்கு தயாரா இருக்கிறோம். தமிதா.
Thank you Ahalya. ප්‍රශ්න මේ ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමෙන් අහන්න තියෙනවා. ඕගොල්ලෝ chat box එකට දාන්න පුළුවන්. අපි විශේෂිත ප්‍රශ්න තව ටික වෙලාවකට තියාගමු කණ්ඩායම් සාකච්ඡාවේදී අහන්න. අපි ඒ අතරතුර chat box එකේ type කරන්න පුළුවන් ඕගොල්ලන්ට. You can type any questions that you have in the chat box, and we'll keep after a little while we'll have the questions open for the presentations, because there's one more presentation remaining. Before that, we'll go for this Mentimeter. Senasha, are we able to?
Thank you, Damita, and hello everybody. So I'm just going to quickly put in this code again. So log on to, I think my colleague Roni has already explained how to use it. So please log on to www.menti.com and enter the code 90974453. So you could do this if you're joining us on the phone or on a computer. Just go on to any browser that you use, and yes, we see some people joining in. So it's a 3-question quiz from the provinces of those who are joining us today. So the code once again for the Mentimeter is 90974453. You could do this on either your phone or your computer. It shouldn't be an issue. So we have 6 people. Just give it about 10 seconds more until some others join. So once again, the code is also on the chat. You could copy and paste it. It's www.menti.com and use the code 90974453. Okay, we have about 9 people. I think we can get started. I hope you're ready. So if you answer faster, you also get more points. Okay, Sri Lanka's hottest springs are located in, so hottest in terms of the temperature. So there are 4 options that we have given. I hope you can see the screen. Kinya, Padiyatalawa, Mahapalassa, and Kapurela. 3 seconds left. Okay. Unfortunately, that is the correct answer. So one person got it right. Well done. Let's see who got it right. We have 2 more questions to go. Don't be disheartened. So it looks like Johnny has gotten the answer right. Well done, Johnny. You are leading. Let's move on to the next question. Right. I hope you're ready. Okay, largest tree in terms of diameter in Sri Lanka is located in. This is very interesting. So there are 4 cities that have been given, districts rather, Mana, Kandy, Ratnapura, or Anuradhapura. So largest tree in terms of diameter. Where is this located? 3 seconds left to go. Okay. Okay, Mana. Looks like a lot of people got the answer correct. Well done. So let's see. So few of you got the answer correct. Well done. And how does, because Ragna is leading. I think I have a picture of the tree as well. So this is the tree. I hope this is the right one. When I Google, this is what came up. So well done. Okay, so final question for today, the quiz. Total surface area of tanks in Anuradhapura is in hectares, 15,000 hectares, 22,500 hectares, 13,000 hectares, or 35,000 hectares. So you have about 5 seconds left, and it's one of these 4 answers. Looks like yes, 6 people got the answer correct. Well done. So let's see who won our little quiz. Like Ragna is winning. Okay, well done, Ragna. Congratulations. There is no prize at the end of this, but thank you very much to everyone who participated. Damita, over to you.
Thank you, Senasha. So I'll try to quickly go to the presentation which Dr. Punyadhan was supposed to do and see if it works this time, because that's very important to understand how the climate impacts changes are impacting our different provinces. Let me try again. Okay, this time it seems to be working. Right, so the climate change impacts in the north, central, northern, and sorry, it should be eastern province. Mistake. So we are looking at northern, north, central, and eastern provinces. If you look at like what are the major climate impacts in the country, like overall, if you don't look at the provinces generally, if you look at one thing is like the change of the rainfall regime. The average rainfall has not changed. The average annual rainfall has not changed much, but the pattern of rain is what is changing. So like during the rainy period, the monsoons in a very short period of time, you get like heavy rains, and then the dry spells are getting longer. So that's one impact that we are facing. Then the temperature is increasing. It's clear in every part of the country, the temperature is increasing. The most predominant one is like the cooler parts, like the highest temperature is increasing at a higher rate. So that's an alarming situation. Then the sea level rise again, it is expected, and there are certain sort of simulations done how much the sea level will rise. It would happen due to 2 reasons. One is the melting of glaciers in the polar regions, and also due to the increase in temperature, the water will expand. Therefore, that like it's something very similar to the tidal effect. So the expansion of water will also cause a sea level rise. So how does this affect different provinces? Let's look at the this based on the agroecological zones. So if you look at the north central province, there are 3 main agroecological with further breakdowns, 6 with the detailed breakdown, 6 agroecological regions in the north central province. All are dry zone, which means relying heavily on the northeast monsoon. Only the DL1C area, which is getting some sort of rain during the other months. So rest of the region is heavily relying on the northeast monsoons, which means there will be temperature increase and also effects of prolonged droughts especially yellow season, like the cultivation rates are low, and the best cultivated area is the Maha season. So these will get affected, and due to the temperature increase, these are like Anuradhapura Polonnaruwa major vegetable cultivation areas as well. The pollination will get impacted, especially the flowers that are pollinating during the early morning times. When the temperature increases, they will not be able to pollinate, so that will have a alarming impact on the harvest, especially the vegetables. Polonnaruwa district, very similar, again a very dry area. A very small area is is in the intermediate zone, but rest is all in the low dry zone. It's even dry, excuse me, drier than Anuradhapura. And unless some irrigation strategies are adopted, Polonnaruwa will also get impacted, very similar to Anuradhapura, having prolonged drought periods. If you go to northern province, it's a very complicated area. Like Jaffna district, you have only 2 agroecological regions, again relying on northeast monsoon. The soil here is very unique compared to other parts of the country. It doesn't have the water retention capacity. So because of the porosity of the soil, having less water will have a critical impact on agriculture, and also salt water intrusion will be critical, especially to the ground water tables. So this is will be a critical aspect when considering Jaffna district. Vaunia has better soil conditions. It has 3 agroecological zones, but then again, less water will be an issue in the future for Vaunia district, and evaporation rates will be very high, again affecting the groundwater levels, and also the quality of the groundwater level will be impacted. Kilinochchi, one of the best regions for cultivation in in northern province. It has 2 major agroecological zones. The soil is quite good in Kilinochchi district for cultivation, but again, the lack of water, long dry spells will have an impact. Mannar district is one of the driest in the country itself. 3 major agroecological regions, and again, this also has a similar soil situation to Jaffna in in the lagoon part. So the island part of Mannar as well. And there's also one part which is very good for agriculture cultivation. So here also climate smart agriculture systems will be needed, and critical adaptation systems will be required due to less water and increase in temperature. One important thing that might be noted here, which was an issue in central province, where the temperature rise in night time is causing like some of the loss of harvest in like things like potatoes and all that. But the same incident in Jaffna, although the daytime temperatures are increasing, nighttime temperatures are also increasing, but there will be time periods where the nighttime minimum temperatures are going down. So this will cause sort of a significant gap between the daytime temperature and the nighttime temperature, which might allow some items to be grown which is not possible earlier. Like there are improved varieties of potatoes that does not need that much of a variant, so those could be actually grown in in the northern part of the country in the future. So that could be an adaptation measure that can be taken to face this issue where agriculture is facing some critical situations. If you take Mullaitivu district, again a good area to cultivate, it also again will be impacted with the sea level rise situation, salt water intrusion into the land area. It has quite a number of tanks as well, but prolonged dry spells will be an issue for Mullaitivu district as well. If you go to the eastern province, again typically a dry area, Trincomalee district, but the agroecological zones are a bit different. It has 4 agroecological zones. Again, lack of water will be a critical issue. There will be some parts like the DL2B zone might not get impacted that much because it's getting water from both the monsoons. But still, Trincomalee district will face issues of prolonged droughts and pest and disease attacks due to increase in temperature. Pollination issues, those will be critical issues faced in the Trincomalee district. Batikalo again, a very commonly prevalent agroecological region, DL2B. Again, very like part of the soil is very fertile and good for cultivation, and one part is not so fertile. But the issue here again will be the prolonged droughts, and also sudden like heavy rains compared to the northern part. This will be more subjected to flash floods due to one reason where heavy rains in a very short period of time will cause sudden floods in the Batiklo district. Ampara district again quite a diverse agroecological zones, like it has 6 agroecological zones. Again, the issue for Ampara district will be the lack of water. More than the heavy rains here, the soil is much better than Batiklo district in terms of withstanding sudden rains, but for prolonged dry spells, Ampara district will also face a critical issue. So those I did it very quickly to save time, but it's very important for the decision makers to understand like how these zones will be impacted and what other issues will cause these relate these climate change impacts might cause migration and other changing in livelihoods. So these have to be taken into consideration. But the entire area that we are talking of, the 3 provinces, are more or less flat land. Therefore, sort of planning could be taken this into a positive nature, and to see how certain aspects of infrastructure planning could be done based on that. Yeah, so මම සිංහල දිතාත්ම ඉක්මනින්ම යන්නම්. අපි ගත්තොත් අම්පාර දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ කෘෂි දේශගුණික කලාප වශයෙන් ගත්තොත් කලාප 6කට බෙදා දැක්වෙනවා. මේ කලාප 6 ඇත්තටම විවිධ මට්ටම් වලින් තියෙන්නේ. අම්පාර දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ පසේ තත්ත්වය බොහෝ දුරට හොඳයි වගා කටයුතු සඳහා. නමුත් අධික දීර්ඝකාලීන නියං තත්ත්වයන් බලපාන්නට පුළුවන් ඊසාන දිග මෝසම් සුළං වල වැසි ජල මට්ටම අඩු වුණොත් ඒක නිසා කෘෂිකාර්මික වශයෙන් අම්පාර දිස්ත්‍රික්කයට යම් කිසියම් බලපෑමක් දේශන විපර්යාස නිසා ඇති වෙනවා. මඩකලපු දිස්ත්‍රික්කයට මේ තත්ත්වයම ඇති වෙනවා. මඩකලපු දිස්ත්‍රික්කයට අම්පාරට වඩා බලපාන තත්ත්වයක් වෙන්නේ ඊසාන දිග මෝසම් සුළං නිසාම ඇති වෙන තද බල වර්ෂාපතන තත්ත්වයන් මත ගම් වතුර වගේ තත්ත්වයන් උත් ඇති වෙන්නට පුළුවන්. මොකද මේ පසේ තියෙන මට්ටමත් එකවර ජලය උරා නොගැනීමේ හේතු කොටගෙන මේ තත්ත්වයන් ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. කෘෂි කර්මාන්තයේ නැවතත් දැඩි බලපෑමක් ඇති වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම දීර්ඝකාලීන නියං තත්ත්වයන් මඩකලපු දිස්ත්‍රික්කෙත් ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මේ හා සමාන තත්ත්වයක් තමයි තිරිකුණාමල දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ තියෙන්නේ. තිරිකුණාමල දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ බලපෑම වැඩි ලවණ ජලය පොළොවට මුහුදු මට්ටම ඉහළ යාම සහ ජල මට්ටමේ තත්ත්වයන් අඩු වීම නිසා ලවණ ජලය පොළොවට උරා ගැනීමේ තත්ත්වය තිරිකුණාමල දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ වැඩි වෙන්නට පුළුවන්. අපි ගත්තොත් උතුරු පළාතේ මුලතිව් මන්නාරම කිලිනොච්චි වවුනියා සහ යාපන දිස්ත්‍රික්කවල ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම යාපන දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ කලාප 2යි තියෙන්නේ. වවුනියා දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ කලාප 3ක් තියෙනවා. කිලිනොච්චි දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ කලාප 2යි ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්. යාපන දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ වවුනියා සහ මුහුදු බඩ කියන්නේ කිලිනොච්චි වැනි පැතිවල ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම බලපාන භූගත ජල මට්ටමේ අඩුවීම සහ මුහුදු මට්ටම ඉහළ යාම නිසා එම ලවණ ජලය පොළොවට උරා ගැනීමේ දැඩි බලපෑම්කාරී තත්ත්වයක් ඇති වෙන්නට පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම මේ ප්‍රදේශවල රාත්‍රී කාලයේ උෂ්ණත්වය පහළ බැසීමකුත් යම් ආකාරයෙන් දකින්න පුළුවන්. මේ වෙනස සමහරට විවිධ භෝග වර්ග කලින් වගා කළ නොහැකි වූ භෝග වර්ග වගා කරන්නට උදව් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. නමුත් පොදුවේ ගත් කල සාමාන්‍ය උෂ්ණත්වය ඉහළ යනවා. මේක නැවතත් වගාවල පළදාවට ප්‍රබල ලෙස බලපාන්නට ඉඩ තියෙනවා. Ahalya, would you like to go for it?
Yeah, I thought you will be doing the North Central as well. No?
All right, I missed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
උතුරු මැද පළාත අනුරාධපුර සහ පොළොන්නරුව දිස්ත්‍රික් වලත් මේ තත්ත්වයම තියෙනවා. නමුත් පසේ තත්ත්වය උතුරු පළාතට වඩා වෙනස්. ඒක නිසා පසේ තත්ත්වයේ ජල උරා ගැනීම හැකියාව ආදී තත්ත්වයන්ගෙන් වෙනස් මට්ටමක තියෙන්නේ. නමුත් ජලය අඩු වීම නිසා අර කියන තත්ත්වය දීර්ඝකාලීන නියං තත්ත්වයන් ඇති වෙන්නට පුළුවන්. ඒක නිසා ජලය රඳවා ගැනීමේ ක්‍රමවේද අනුගමනය කරන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන් මම හිතන්නේ මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ව්‍යාපෘතිත් ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා උතුරු මැද පළාතේ. නමුත් ප්‍රධානතම දේශීය විපර්යාස තත්ත්වය බලපාන්නේ උෂ්ණත්වය ඉහළ යාම සහ ජල මට්ටම ජල තත්ත්වයේ අඩුවීම කියන කාරණේ.
தேங்க்யூ ஜமிதா. சுருக்கமாக இதுல வந்து டாக்டர் புண்ணியவர்தன அவருடைய அக்ரோ எக்கலஜிக்கல் ரீஜன், அதாவது விவசாய வேளாண்மை சம்பந்தமாக நாம பிரிக்கப்பட்டிருக்கிற இந்த வலயங்களுக்கூடாகத்தான் காலநிலை மாற்றம் எப்படி வந்து இந்த மாவட்டங்கள்ல இந்த இடங்கள்ல வந்து எப்படி நம்மளை வந்து பாதிப்படைய போகுதுன்றத வந்து டாக்டர் புண்ணியவர்தன அவருடைய பிரசன்டேஷன்ல சொல்லியிருந்தவர். முக்கியமா காலநிலை மாற்றம் சம்பந்தமாக அதாவது என்னது மழைநீர் வீழ்ச்சியில மழை வீழ்ச்சியில வந்து மாற்றங்கள், மற்றது அதிகரிக்கப்பட்ட வெப்பநிலை உயர்வு, அதோட கடல் சீ லெவல் ரைஸ், அதாவது கடல் மட்டங்கள்ல ஏற்படுற வேறுபாடுகள் காரணமாக இப்ப இது வந்து வட மாகாணம், வட மத்திய மாகாணம், மற்றது கிழக்கு மாகாணம், வடக்கு மாகாணமும் கிழக்கு மாகாணமும் கரையோரங்கள்ல இருக்கிற காரணத்தினால கடல்நிலை மாற்றங்கள், சீ லெவல் ரைஸ் இது காரணமாக பல விதத்துல கரையோர பிரதேசங்கள் வந்து பாதிப்படையக்கூடும். வடக்கு மாகாணத்துல வட மத்திய மாகாணத்துல புலனறுவ அனுராதபுர இடங்கள் வந்து அதிக அளவுல மழை வீழ்ச்சியில வந்து தங்கி இருக்கிற விவசாயத்தை நம்பி வாழ்வாதாரங்கள் காணப்படுது. இங்க வந்து இது வந்து உலர் வலயம், மூன்றுமே உலர் வலயம், அனைத்து உலர் வலயம். பிரதானமாக நாங்க வந்து வேளாண்மையும் மற்றது விவசாய வேளாண்மையில மழைநீரை தங்கி நம்பி இருக்கிற விவசாய வேளாண்மையில நாங்க வந்து நம்மளோட பிரதான இது தங்கி இருக்குது. சோ இதனால மழை வீழ்ச்சியில மழை வீழ்ச்சியில மாற்றங்கள், அத்தோட மற்றது வெப்பநிலையில மாற்றங்கள், அதாவது உயர்வடைகிற வெப்பநிலை அல்லது தாழ்வடைகிற வெப்பநிலை, அந்த விடயங்களால விவசாயம் வந்து அதிக அளவுல வந்து பாதிக்கப்பட போகுது. பெரும்பாலான மக்கள் வந்து இந்த வடமத்திய கிழக்கு மாகாணங்கள்ல இருக்கிற பெரும்பாலான மக்கள் அவங்களுடைய வாழ்வாதாரத்தை விவசாயத்துல தங்கி இருக்கிறதுனால இது வந்து பல விதத்துல மாற்றம் அடையக்கூடும். அதே நேரத்துல வடக்கு மாகாணத்துல யாழ்ப்பாணம், கிளிநொச்சி, முல்லைத்தீவு, மன்னார் போன்ற இடங்கள்ல பகல் நேர வெப்பநிலை, இரவு நேர வெப்பநிலைகள்ல ஏற்படக்கூடிய உயர்வு அல்லது தாழ்வு, அதாவது அந்த மாற்றங்கள் வந்து வேளாண்மை வகைகள், அதாவது விவசாய வேளாண்மைக்கு பயன்படுத்தப்படுற கிராப்ஸ், வேளாண்மை தாவரங்கள்ல வந்து ஒரு குறிப்பிட்ட அளவான பாதிப்பை ஏற்படுத்தும். சோ அந்த விடயங்கள் வந்து கருத்தில் எடுக்கப்பட வேண்டும். இதை கிழக்கு மாகாணத்தை எடுக்கும் போது மட்டக்களப்பு, திருகோணமலை, அம்பாறை அந்த இடங்கள் வந்து அதாவது வேறுபட்ட மழை வீழ்ச்சியால வந்து பாதிக்கப்பட கூடும். அதே நேரத்துல ஃபிளாஷ் ஃபிளட்ஸ், அதாவது கரையோர பிரதேசம் என்ற காரணத்தினால சீ லெவல் ரைஸ், அதாவது கடல் நீர் மட்ட உயர்வு காரணமாக சில நேரங்கள்ல திடீரென்று ஒரு ஃபிளாஷ் ஃபிளட்ஸ் வந்து உருவாக நேரங்கள்ல அது வந்து வேளாண்மைக்கும் விவசாயத்துக்கும் பெரிய அளவு பாதிப்பு கொண்டு வரக்கூடும். இதுல இருந்து இலங்கை வந்து, அதாவது இந்த மாகாண மக்கள் எப்படி வந்து தங்களை காப்பாற்றிக் கொள்ள வேண்டும், இதுக்கு இலங்கை வந்து இந்த மாகாண மக்கள் எப்படி முன்னுக்கு வரப்போற பிரச்சனைகளை வந்து முன்னெடுக்க வேணும், அதுக்கு எப்படி அவங்க தங்களை தயார்படுத்திக் கொள்ள வேண்டும் என்றதைத்தான் நாம இது தொடர்பாக மேலும் வந்து கலந்துரையாடலாம். தமிதா.
Thank you, Alia. Thank you. මං හිතන්නේ අපිට ඊළඟ මේ කරුණු සම්බන්ධයෙන් විනාඩි 5ක් හෝ 10ක් අරගෙන විශේෂිත ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා නම් අහන්න පුළුවන්. විශේෂයෙන්ම දේශගුණික විපර්යාස ලේකම් කාර්යාලයෙන් හෝ මේ කෘෂි දේශගුණික කලාප ගැන ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා නම් අපිට විනාඩි 5ක් 10ක් කාලයක් ඇතුළත ප්‍රශ්න කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ අවසන් වෙලා අපි ඊළඟට breakout groups වලට we can take up questions if you have very quickly for about 5 to 7 minutes with regarding the presentations. If not, we can go to the breakout groups in about 5 to 7 minutes.
இந்த presentations தொடர்பாக உங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது கேள்விகள் கேட்க இருந்தா ஒரு 5 to 7 minutes 5 தொடக்கம் 7 நிமிடங்கள் நாங்க டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ணலாம். ஸோ உங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது கேள்விகள் ஏதாவது further clarifications இருந்தா இது தொடர்பாக உங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது தெரிய வேண்டி இருந்தா எங்களோட வந்து கலந்துரையாடலாம். உங்களோட கேள்விகளை வந்து சாட் பாக்ஸ்ல போடலாம், இல்ல உங்களை நீங்க வந்து அன்மியூட் பண்ணிட்டு நீங்க கேள்விகளை வந்து டிரெக்டா கேட்கலாம். எந்த எந்த மொழியிலையுமே கேட்கலாம்.
මම හිතන්නේ එක ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා, ඒකට උත්තරේ දීලා තියෙනවා චමනි මිස්. ඒ කියන්නේ ලයිව් ස්ටොක්ස් එක එහෙම නැත්නම් පසු සම්පත් සහ වෙනත් සත්ව නිෂ්පාදන ශේත්‍රයට කොහොමද මේක බලපාන්නේ කියන එක මේ අපි සඳහන් කරන පළාත් තුන ගත්තොත් ලොකුම ගැටලුව තමයි උෂ්ණත්ව ඉහළ යාම. උෂ්ණත්ව ඉහළ යාම නිසා ආහාර නිෂ්පාදනයත් එක්තරා ආකාරයකට ගැටලුවක් වෙනවා. නමුත් වඩාත්ම වෙන්නේ සත්තුන්ට ඇති වෙන අපි කියනවා ස්ට්‍රෙස් එක තත්ත්වය කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ පීඩන තත්ත්වයක් ඇති වෙනවා. මේක විශේෂයෙන්ම නිෂ්පාදන ක්‍රියාවලියට බලපානවා. කියන්නේ කිරි ගවයින්ගේ කිරි නිෂ්පාදනය අඩු වෙන්න හේතු වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ප්‍රජනන හැකියාවන් පවා සතුන්ගේ අඩු වෙනවා මේ කාරණේ උඩ. ඒක නිසා විශේෂයෙන්ම කුකුළු පාලනයටත් මේකට ලොකු බලපෑමක් ඇති වෙනවා.
And to add what Damita said, with increased temperatures and continuous drought, like grasslands and their foraging places, foraging sites could be dried out completely. So that could also have a negative impact on the livestock development, and they could even livestock can be lost because of that hunger and stuff. So yeah.
Is the climate cell of northern region is functional? Vimaladas is asking, anyone from the northern provincial sector, can you probably give an update on that? Is the deputy director planning on northern province in the call?
Yes.
Sir, is the climate cells that were, is it in a functional format or still it's not established?
Actually, climate change unit we still not established, but in future we have to establish, no problem. But today I little bit late, that's why I couldn't catch the program. Anyway, according to your suggestion, we will establish, no problem. Can you hear me?
Yes, we could actually. I think the Climate Change Secretariat will get in touch with you with this process, because they are going from province to province on this.
Yeah.
Chamani, you could.
We want to clear cut this one. Remaining, we want because a lot of projects also coming, and we definitely we will support and we will achieve the target.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Damit, yes, as you said, that we will go from one province to another, especially with our NAP readiness program and with some other fund assistance, with some funds allocated for this program, especially to develop provincial adaptation plans and establish these data portals and some capacity building programs and so on. So I think the province level setup, I mean province level initiatives will come into, will attend on soon with these initiatives by the Secretariat.
Thank you, Chamis. Thank you. Yeah.
Hello. Hello.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I am Raghavan, speaking from Department of Industries, Northern Province. Is there any suggestion or improvement in the business environment change against business environment change due to climate and presently the COVID problem influence? These are affected our industrial sector also. So, how we can improve our industrial sector in your point of view?
Yeah, Mr. Raghavan, actually, depending on from sector to sector. Now, for example, even if you take the agriculture processing, there are several initiatives what we can take, like by looking at how the sectors are being impacted. There is a study going on in the estate sector, how to see the industries are impacted in those areas. Similarly, like if you take Northern Province, now some issues would be the lack of quality water for the industries to be conducted. Another could be the energy costs.
Yes.
One aspect the government is looking at is how could the renewable energy processes could be brought in. Actually, in the morning session when we conducted a program with the hill country regions, how biomass could be effectively used, because I think even in the northern region now the biomass is becoming scarce. Earlier it was a major fuel source for some of the industries, but now it is getting scarce. So efficient usage of biomass will become a very critical thing even in all three provinces, north, central and eastern.
Yeah, we can use solar energy because it's suitable for our areas.
Yes. Yeah.
In that point of view, we can take initiatives.
Mr. Damit, can I add some?
Yes, Miss. Yeah.
This actually with this, as I said in the last presentation also, this industry sector is one of the most vulnerable sectors that is identified under mitigation. Actually, not the vulnerable mitigation sector. It's covered under mitigation sector NDCs, nationally determined contributions. So actually ground level implementation and monitoring activities have been identified at the national level. Actually, some consultative processes has gone, and they have identified some of the major mitigatory activities focusing on the industry sector. As you said, the renewable energy or the energy saving mechanisms and water saving mechanisms and some technological improvements, and even for some technical capacity building programs. So all these activities are in they have been suggested under this NDC industry sector. So and the other thing is the another EU project, European Union project is underway to look after the industry sector as a country. I mean, the total of the industry sector will be benefited by that project as well. So I think when we come to the provincial level also, those benefits will channel into the industry sector in the provincial, specific provincial provinces, targeting specific industries, So, and even the National Environmental Action Plan has identified some of the core areas that we should look into under this action plan. So I think the ground level implementation programs will come in the future to address the industrial sector needs as soon.
Sure, thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Very important. And I think, Mr. Raghavan, one key thing would be to collect as much information as well, and also to prioritize from your end which industries would need the support when these projects comes up, then they are, without a delay, we start moving forward.
Yes, that's a big help, I think, to move forward. No, right.
So we have two more race hats. We'll first go with Adisha, and then Vimala Das, then you can go after that.
Yes, just to add, Damita, that the CEB has actually released a tender on Gamada Balagara, which means a solar power plant for each village. So at the moment, these 75 kilowatt small systems are being promoted around the country, and I think especially the north central and eastern provinces, the entrepreneurs in these areas can especially benefit from that these renewable energy investment projects. So I'm from the banking industry, financial industry, and we are also quite, looking forward to support entrepreneurs. So if the regional authorities are aware of, these kind of, potential, even communities as well as individuals who might want to go in for those investments, the banking sector can play a role in supporting them as well. So we would love to hear more if there's any already available information in this regard.
Thank you, Adisha. Thank you. I think, so from the industries department, you could also make a note and probably connect with these banks as well for further support. Vimala Das, you can go, and then after that, Kamal.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Damita. This is to Madam Secretary. This is again a specific question regarding the northern region. Madam Secretary, is there any plan to incorporate all the projects that are being implemented in the particular province regarding this climate change, adaptation and mitigation in future, or is there any plan at the moment? I would like to put it like this. With all the projects being implemented through the government, and of course the NGOs and the other private sectors are also engaged in various projects in the climate adaptation and mitigation projects. Is there any plan to incorporate all the projects and monitor them under the a particular committee, as you have mentioned, the climate change cell? Is it underway now, or will it be in future in northern region?
Damita, same question, na? Pass.
Kamal, a prashna
Yeah. Yes.
මං හිතන්නේ චමන මිස් ඒක මේ ක්ලයිමේට් චේන්ජ් සෙක්‍රටරියට් එකට යොමු වෙන්නේ මේ එහෙම
Actually, as we suggested, in the presentation also said that all the information should be actually gathered in one place, so that the monitoring and evaluation thing can also be undertaken most efficiently and effectively. So as we said, the steering committee, we suggest a project, the climate, this unit can act as a project steering committee, so that all the information regarding the project, climate project initiatives can be, grouped there, and the information can be collected there for correct actions, I suppose. So that's why we identified that the role of a steering committee there. For right now, those are not, in operation, but with the provincial setup is coming. When the provincial setup is done, those things will be in place, so that all the information, climate related project information and the rest of the information, all necessary information will be there in one particular place for anyone to access it, for anyone to communicate using those information and so on. So anyway, there's, and another thing is the need of a data portal. I mean, the provincial data portal is there. So once we set up such a data portal with collaborative, all with the collaboration of all the major stakeholders at the ground level parties, so all this climatic information will be at the one place for anybody to access for their I mean right choices for climatic initiatives.
Right. Thank you for the clarification, Shamini Miss. There's a raised hand from Tusita. We'll take your question and then quickly go to the breakout rooms where we can have more detailed discussions. Yeah, Tusita. Yeah. You can ask your question, Tusita. You have a raised hand?
Tusita, can you hear us? Tusita? Damita, I'm not sure the mic is unmuted, but I'm not sure if Tusita could hear us.
Yeah. Shall we go to the breakout rooms? If needed, probably he can raise the question there because we are probably discussing the same question.
Okay.
අපි එහෙමුණු breakout rooms වලට යන් ගිහිල්ලා එතනදී තව දුරටත් අර කියන කටයුතු ගැන සාකච්ඡා කරමු.
Just to let everyone know, the breakout rooms, you should be in there in about 1 to 2 minutes time. You will receive like a pop-up box on your screen. Once you get one of those, please select join breakout room or something to that extent. So I'll be opening this up now. Thank you.
අපි තව තප්පර කීපයක් කියමු අනිත් තව කවුරුත් එනවද බලන්න group එකට. අපිට ආරම්භ කරන්න පුළුවන් මම හිතන්නේ අපේ සාකච්ඡාව. We can start our discussion.
Amita?
Oh, come on.
Right. මට අතර මතු කරන්න අවශ්‍ය වුණේ දැන් අපි provincial district level එකේ plans හැදිලා තියෙනවනේ ගොඩක් strategic plans දැන් උදාහරණයක් ගත්තොත් එimhe ත්‍රිංකුමල්ලි වල මේ වගේ 22 වෙනකන් හැදිලා තියෙනවා 2018 ඉඳලා plan එකක් development plan එකක්. එතකොට මේ වගේ plans වල කොච්චර ඉස්සරලා අර විමලදාස් කිව්වා වගේ climate change එකට mitigate කරන්න පුළුවන් adaptive activities ගොඩක් මේ actions තියෙනවා include කරලා තියෙනවා. හැබැයි ඒකේ monitoring mechanism එක හරියටම district level එකෙන් provincial level එකෙන් කොහොමද ඒක monitor වෙන්නේ සහ informations යන්නේ කියලා system එකක් හැදුනොත් හොඳයි. මම හිතන්නේ මේකේ දැනට district level එකේ කතා කරගෙන යනවා sustainable development goals වලට කොච්චර contribute කරනවද කියන එක වගේ ඒක assess වෙනවා. හැබැයි climate change වලට කොච්චර මේ mitigation actions තියෙනවද ඒ වගේ progress එක කොහොමද කියන එක පිළිබඳව මම හිතන්නේ හොඳ discussion එකක්. ඒකම මේ වගේ informations gather වෙනවද කියන එක පිළිබඳව ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. කොහොමද ඒකට plan කරන්නේ provincial level එක district level එකට inputs දෙන්න විශේෂයෙන්ම secretariat එක. Thank you.
right බොහොම ස්තුතියි කමල් මම පොඩ්ඩක් ඒක මේ අහ ප්‍රශ්නේ ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන්ුත් කියන්නම් එතකොට තත්ෂයට පුළුවන් දෙමළ භාෂාවට පරිවර්තනය කරන්න. So the question from Kamal was, you know, there are some important plans being done at district level. He just showed the 2016-22 Trincomalee district plan. So the question was, how are these getting integrated into, like, how are they getting monitored, and also what sort of integration is there with the national level plans and these district level plans? Now, some sort of engagement is there with regard to sustainable development goals, but what about climate change was his question. So let's take that as the first question. Probably Tarsha, if you could translate into Tamil as well, we can get feedback from different sources on this.
2000 அதாவது வந்து 2016 பிளான் வந்து அவர் வச்சிருக்கிறார். அதை பற்றிய மேலதிக விவரங்கள் இருந்தா அது கொடுக்கறதுக்கு. மற்றது இந்த முக்கியமா வந்து இந்த கேள்விகளை பொறுத்தவரையில் எங்களுக்கு இந்த குரூப்ல வந்து எங்களுக்கு முக்கியமா தேவைப்படுற கேள்விகள் வந்து பார்க்க நீங்க தெரியும். காலநிலை மாற்றம் மற்றும் அதில் வந்து இப்போ வந்து கிளைமேட் காலநிலை செயற்பாடுகளில் வந்து ப்ரொவின்ஸ் என்னென்ன நடவடிக்கைகளை எடுத்துக்கொண்டிருக்குது, அதனை வந்து செய்யறதுக்கு வந்து என்ன செயற்பாடுகளுக்கு நாங்கள் வந்து பரிந்துரைக்கலாம், அந்த ஆக்டிவிட்டீஸை வந்து எவ்வாறு நாங்கள் மேற்கொள்றதுக்கு வந்து எங்களுடைய செயற்பாடுகள் இருக்க போது. மற்றது வந்து பல ஈடுபாடுகளை கொண்ட அங்கது முக்கியஸ்தவர்களுடன் தொழிற்படும் போது அதில் ஏற்படுகின்ற பிரச்சனைகள் பற்றி ஆராயறதுக்காக இந்த குரூப் முக்கியமா இதண்டது. இதுல நீங்க தாராளமாக தமிழ் மொழியிலும் கதைச்சு கொள்ளலாம். உங்களுக்கான விடயங்களை தயவு செய்து எங்களோட தொடர்பு கொண்டு கதைச்சு கொள்ளுங்க. நன்றி. டாமித்.
මම මේ ඩොක්ටර් සුගතපාල ඉන්නවා නම් ඩොක්ටර් සුගතපාලගෙන් කැමති මේකට ඉස්සෙල්ලා ප්‍රවේශ like to get a
sort of usually when we do a development projects or plan, we have to indicate this on to different levels, including this type of like stages and so on. As Kamal indicated already, there's a government directive that all the institutions, even national and local government level, they have to report the progress against SDGs. Now, one of the important factor we usually don't understand is usually these SDGs are developed as a global target, but it's a mandatory that you have to localize these. So when you're doing that one, you have the flexibility, full flexibility to localize these targets toward the local development. So in that context, so in this process, in fact, this has not happened yet in the provincial or local level. It's happening in government, like central government level now, through Sustainable Development Council. This localization is happening. But I think we have not gone into very detail there, but contrary to this requirement, even the local authorities now, because they have to do it, even without the support of Sustainable Council, they can start doing that, where they can identify certain targets and indicators relevant to the local requirement. And then once you identify, then this you can submit this one to Sustainable Council, get their consent for that, and then make it a kind of a mandatory or regulatory aspect in doing projects. So there you can do that, and especially remember that in SDGs we have one of the SDGs. SDG 13 is climate actions. So then we have the national determined contribution coming through another international conventions, not through 2030 agenda, but through this Paris Agreement and UNESCC. But it also talk about this climate action. So those are basically, although it's coming through two different conventions, we are talking about the same issue, right? So therefore, at the ground level, we had to make it a common, actions basically, not one to the SDGs and not one to the NDCs is a common thing. So therefore, there's a window for us to work on that. Then identify our own, climate-related targets or indicators through which we can monitor these projects. So in that context, this localization concept is happening all over the world. but in Sri Lanka, still we see there's a gap. I think that's one of the area where I think all of us should work, because all these discussion we are doing it to do something on the ground and then show that these are, having some impact. So therefore, this is a very important, I think, urgent action to be taken, so that we can always align our activities and monitor their progress, in the direction of this climate action, in particularly the topic we are discussing today. But then, of course, we can go into the broader context of sustainable development goals or sustainable development. The key message here is these are not two different things. These are the same thing. Like SDG 13 and NDCs are basically the same problem we are talking. So therefore, on the ground level, we should not have two different actions, the same action contributing to these two, and we had to report that. So I think this is a topic itself. We need a very detailed, discussion. I'll stop here. So what I mean is basically there are entry points for us to work towards this issue. It's an urgent issue to be resolved. So I will stop here, but if you need more, clarification, I can contribute. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sudapal. Yeah. So, is our director planning from the Northern Province, can you add anything? How like this district level plans? Is it happening for every district in the Northern Province, or is it only in specific areas? And do you have any idea how this could be combined for climate action?
And Mr. Damit, some financial requirements should also be fulfilled in this case, no? So that's why we introduced the climate, different types of climate funds, and different other organizations are trying to assist. So we'll have to channel them to this type of, plans and all that, and our job to get it done, no? So
Yes.
Once the plans are there and the proper plans and the proper needs are identified, the other needs are there, financial, technological, and this type of needs. So we'll have to find some partner organizations or some other funds that are being trying to assist at the provincial level. So
I think, since I'm from the financial industry, I totally agree. I think even for the financial sector, for us to get engaged, we are looking to identify bankable projects, or where
yes.
who the entrepreneurs are, what are their needs. So if we can work with the local authorities, we might be able to go in for a more concerted effort. At the moment, the banks are also already tapping into these climate funds globally, and we are looking to further enhance that. But we will need support from the local authorities to identify the priorities which are there at the local level, and understand who the entrepreneurs are and what kind of projects need to be prioritized and financed. So if we can kind of get those insights, we can also play a proactive role.
I think that's one, like earlier I was also asking Deputy Chief Secretary to see if possible how, even if now sometimes we tend to put in the plans only the ones that we have money for, but if you put the plans together what are needed, then probably sometimes funds could be sourced from other sources, not necessarily from the national budget. I guess that understanding will be very critical.
Mr. Damita, do we need to add monitoring mechanism for the climate change activities here?
Yeah, I think that is an important thing. Kamalගේ ප්‍රශ්නෙත් මං හිතන්නේ උනේ ඒ හා සම්බන්ධ එකක් තමයි නේද? ඒ කියන්නේ
ඕ ඒක තමයි
plans
monitoring
තියෙනවා, ඒවා
mechanism
කරන
එකක්.
වැඩ
ඔව්.
මොකද සමහර ඒවා මොනිටර් නොවීම නිසා මේවට තව දෙන්න පුළුවන් සපෝට් දෙන්න බැරි හේතුවක් වෙනවා. ඒ ගැන දන්නේ නැති කාරණේ උඩ. There was a question earlier which Tusita raised hand but he couldn't, his mic was not working. Come on.
ඇත්තටම දැන් මේ අපි දැන් ගවර්න්මන්ට් පැත්තෙන් ගත්තොත් එහෙම දිස්ත්‍රික්ට් සෙක්‍රටේරියට් එක හරහා හැදෙන ප්ලෑන් එකයි ප්‍රොවින්ෂල් කවුන්සිල් එක හරහා ගවර්න්මන්ට් ස්ට්‍රක්චර්ස් එක්ක ෆන්ක්ෂන් වෙන ඒ ප්ලෑන් හැදෙන ගමන්ම ගොඩක් විට මේ අර අපේ විමලදාසුත් මතක් කරා වගේ ගොඩක් ඕගනයිසේෂන් වලින් නැෂනල් ලෙවල් එකේ ඉම්ප්ලිමන්ට් කරන ඒ ඒරියා වල ප්‍රොජෙක්ට්ස් යනවා. එතකොට ඒවා මේ ප්ලෑන්ස් වලට ඉන්කෝපරේට් කරගෙන අඩුම තරමේ මොනිටරින් මෙකනිසම් එකක් හරි අපිට ඩෙවලොප් කරගන්න පුළුවන් නම් මම හිතන්නේ නැෂනල් ලෙවල් එකට මේක ගෙනියන්න පුළුවන්. නැත්නම් සෙපරේට්ලි මේක ගියොත් එහෙම දිස්ත්‍රික්කේ ප්ලෑන් එක මේක කොහෙවත් සඳහන් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. උදාහරණයක් අපි දැන් UNDP එක හරහා මේ ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එකක් යනවා. එතකොට ඒක ඩිරෙක්ට් නැෂනල් ලෙවල් එකට විතරක් රිපෝට් වුණොත් දිස්ත්‍රික්ට් ලෙවල් එකේදී මේක කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ කියන එක පිළිබඳ අදහසක් එන්නේ නැහැ දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ අයට. එතකොට මේක එක්ස්පීරියන්ස් ෂෙයා වෙන්නේ නැහැ. එතකොට මේක ලෙවල් එක මොකක්ද කියන එක ගැන අදහසක් එන්නේ නැහැ දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ අයට. එතකොට මේක එක්ස්පෑන්ඩ් කරන්න ඕන නම් මේ එක්ස්පීරියන්ස් එක ඒක ගැන අදහසක් එන්නේත් නැහැ. ඒක නිසා මම හිතන්නේ මේ වගේ ලෙසන් ලර්න්ස් අරගෙන ඊළඟට ප්ලෑන් කරනකොට මේ පල්ලෙහා ලෙවල් එකේ තුසිත කිව්වා වගේ විශේෂයෙන්ම ලෝකල් ගවර්න්මන්ට් ඔතොරිටිස් එක්ක ප්‍රොවින්ෂල් කවුන්සිල් එක්ක දිස්ත්‍රික්ට් ප්ලෑනින්ග්ස් වලදී ගොඩක් මේක සාකච්ඡාවට බඳුන් වෙනවා නම් තමයි හොඳ. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamal. So the Kamal's point was that there are several projects that are being implemented at national level. They are not necessarily part of the district level plan, but they are implemented specifically in some districts. So how they are reported in the district level plan, how they get monitored and reported back is a critical thing, is what Kamal said. And also one critical thing like this was raised by Tusita. His mic didn't work. What he was asking, like there are NGOs and civil society organizations who are willing to connect with the national level processes as part of representatives from the districts. So he was asking how, now he was from Anuradhapura, he's asking how is it functional? Again, the question I think was the climate cell. Is it functional? What is the mechanism of connecting to that? Because like national level projects, it's good that they are not necessarily they are planned at national level and then imposed. I don't know whether I'm using a wrong word, but before the project comes, it's good if the district level actors and the provincial level actors know that this sort of a project is coming. Then it would be already in their plans. Without planning for it after the project has come into being. මම හිතන්නේ ඒක දෙමළටත් පරිවර්තනය කරලා තර්ෂා were you able to pick it up what was discussed?
அதாவது வந்து துசித வந்து இதுல கேள்வி கேட்டிருந்தார். அதாவது வந்து அரச சார்பற்ற நிறுவனமா மாவட்ட செயலாமால் வந்து அவையில் தங்களுடைய செயற்பாடுகள் செய்யறதுக்கு தீவிரமா வந்து வினைத்திறனா செய்யறதுக்கு ஈடுபட்டு கொண்டிருக்கணும். ஆனா இந்த கல்லை சேலத்தில் மாவட்டத்திலேயும் இந்த செயல்கள் செய்யறதுக்கான வாய்ப்புகள் இருக்கு. இந்த செயல்முறைகளை வந்து எவ்வாறு நாங்கள் சிவில் சமூகத்தை வந்து உள்ளடக்கி நாங்கள் எவ்வாறு செய்யலாம்ன்றதுக்கான பதில்கள் அவைகள் கேட்கணும். தாங்கள் திறன்பட ஈடுபடுவார்கள் என்று இது சார்பில் உங்களுக்கு கருத்துக்கள் இருந்தா நிச்சயமாக தெரியப்படுத்துங்கள். டாமிதா.
Thank you. Yeah. And there was another question from Kirti, like for these, especially I think it's a question about climate smart agriculture, whether intercropping is a good solution for these situations. I think if Dr. Purnivardhan was here, he would be able to give a good answer. But I think Kamal and Vimaladas both will be able to answer on this because you are engaged into projects that work on climate smart agriculture. You could come on both languages. Kamal, you could explain in Sinhala, and Vimaladas, if you explain in Tamil, it would be beneficial for the participants. කමල් පුළුවන් ද පොඩ්ඩක් climate smart agriculture processes මොනවද දැනට පාවිච්චි වෙන්නේ කියන එක යෝජනාවේ ඒවා මොනවද කියන එක ගැන පොඩ්ඩක් කියන්න.
right මම හිතන්නේ අපි thank you දමිත විශේෂයෙන්ම දැන් අපි ට්‍රින්කුමලි වල ගත්තොත් එහෙම දැන් අපි කල්පනා කරන්න ඕනේ විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ climate change වල ඒකේ බලපෑම සමහරවිට රට හැටියටත් පළාත හැටියටත් ડોક્ટર පුණ්‍යවර්ධන කතා කරා වගේ මේ කෘෂි දේශගුණික කලාප කියන එකත් දැන් ඉතාමත් කුඩා මට්ටමට බලපාලා දැන් අද අපිට එවලා තියෙන එක්සැම්පල් එකක් ගත්තොත් එහෙම weather forecast එක එවනවා ඇත්තටම මේ අපේ project area එකේ තම මේ ફોකස් කරලා. එතකොට දැන් ඒකත් වර්ධින මට්ටමට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා මේ දවස් දෙක තුන ඇතුළත. ඒ කියන්නේ පැය ගාණක් ඇතුළත ඒ වෙනස. එතකොට උදාහරණයක් ගත්තොත් එහෙම ගිය සතිය අපි plan කරා මේ ජූනි ජූලි ඔගෝස්ට් වල ගත්තොත් මේ ඒරියා එකේ drought එක බොහොම වැඩි. ඒක තමයි පහුගිය කාලේ පුරාවටම දශක ගණනාවක් තිබ්බ තත්ත්වේ. හැබැයි මේ දවස්වල අපිට ආපු forecast එකත් එක්ක ගත්තාම අපිට මාසේ දවස් වාර ගණනාවක් වර්ෂාව ලැබෙනවා කියන එක පිළිබඳව forecast එක හම්බ වෙනවා. එතකොට අපි climate smart agriculture පැත්තෙන් අපි advisory එකක් දෙනවා ගොවියන්ට අපිට පුළුවන් නම් මේ අප්ලන්ඩ්ස් වල සහ ගේසරේ යලේ වගා කරගන්න බැරි වෙච්ච ඉඩම් වල OFC වලට යන්න පුළුවන් නම් යන්න කියලා. එතකොට දැන් ඔන්න මේ සතියෙන් බලාගෙන ඉන්න මිනිස්සු land preparation කරලා දැස්ස නැහැ. එතකොට මේ සිටුේෂන් එක ඇත්තටම අපි මේ දැන් මේ ප්‍රැක්ටිස් එකට ගොඩක් බලපානවා. එතකොට දැන් මේක යම් විදිහකින් අත්හදා බලමින් මේකට ගැලපෙන දේවල් තාක්ෂණික වශයෙන් කොහොමද යොදාගන්නේ ඊළඟට මේකේ තියෙන අභියෝග තියෙනවා විශේෂයෙන්ම රෝපණ ද්‍රව්‍ය එක්කම බිම් සැකසීම් වගේ දේවල් පිළිබඳව තියෙන තාක්ෂණය ඒවා තමයි ඇත්තටම අපි climate smart agriculture විදියට මේ ගොවියන් අතර ඩිලිවර් කරන්නේ. එතකොට විශේෂම කාරණා තමයි මම අර ඉස්සෙල්ලත් මතු කරේ national level එකේ plan එකක් තියෙනවා වගේම මේක බොහොම සූත්‍ර මට්ටමට ගෙනිච්චේ නැත්නම් ඇත්තටම අපි ගන්න උත්සාහයන් යෝජනාවල් ඒකම අපි මේකට කරන ප්‍රතිකර්ම අපිට සාර්ථක කරගන්න බැරි වෙනවා ප්‍රදේශයෙන් ප්‍රදේශයට තියෙන මේ තියෙන වෙනස් වීම නිසා. සහ බලපෑමේ ස්වභාවය ඒ ආකාරයට තමයි පහුගිය අවුරුදු 3මාරක විතර වගේ මේ ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එකත් එක්ක ඉඳලා සමීපව වැඩ කරද්දී ලැබිච්ච අත්දැකීම් එක්ක අපිට පේන්නේ.
Thank you, Kamal. Vimaldas, can you also briefly describe, like, in Tamil, climate smart agriculture processes, what are being practiced in northeast provinces? Sort of a brief idea.
Sorry, Damita, Bimaladas is not in the room, I guess.
So like the idea, what Kamal mentioned is like, intercropping, there are several aspects. Intercropping is a good option, but what happens is like, sometimes the climate predictions, weather predictions, when they don't go right, it can raise an issue because you are increasing your crop intensity and then you need to have sufficient water to support that. So that was a issue, but in general, various irrigation methods, if it's like small scale farming, you can go for drip irrigation, that type of thing. Otherwise sprinkler systems, and even we've seen pot irrigation systems are also practiced right now. So those, like, actually in the dry zone, the main focus will be managing water efficiently and effectively. So those are the ones that should be focused actually, if we, and also tolerant varieties, different types of varieties has to be produced which are tolerant for these climatic changes. Going back to sometimes traditional varieties with improved harvesting capabilities will be an option. Tadsha, can you go for a translation?
Yes. So Kamalda கருத்தின்படி பாக்கெட்ல வந்து இந்த crop அதாவது இந்த பயிர் செய்யறது வந்து ஒரு நல்ல வழியான அது காலநிலை கணிப்பு வந்து அதிகரிக்கும்னு சொல்லப்படுது. மற்ற வந்து பொதுவாக பாக்கெட்ல வந்து பல்வேறு நீர்ப்பாசன முறைகள்லையும் மற்றதுங்க ரைசோனை பொறுத்தவரையில வந்து இந்த நீர் மேலாண்மை செய்யறது வந்து ஒரு முக்கியமான ஒன்றாக காணப்படுதுன்றதையும் குறிப்பிட்டுச்சுன்னா, பாரம்பரிய முறைகளை பொறுத்தவரையில வந்து இது முக்கியமான ஒன்றாகவும் நாங்க இதனை கருத்துல கொண்டிருக்கலாம்ன்றதை தமித்த கூறியிருந்தார். சுருக்கமாக தமித்த.
Thank you, Tacha. Adisha, you have a question to raise?
Yeah, actually, just a comment, Damita. Some time ago, I actually also managed a project in agriculture for about 35-acre farm, and we also actually went for intercropping. The farm was in Dambulla, and what we realized is, I mean, it is actually good because it, I mean, even if some crops fail, there'll be a revenue at least in the short term in other crops. So, and then also, for example, you might be able to go with a perennial crop where the incomes come a bit down the line, but manage the short-term cash flows with the cash crops that are in the short term. And over time, when there's shade from these larger trees, you might be able to go for plants that can grow without much sunshade and with little water underneath. So we have done some trials, and I think intercropping is a very good way to manage the spread the risk.
Is everyone in the room?
Yes.
Sorry.
Right. Yeah. So actually, we lost in a bit like when Adisha was explaining, but I think that would be taken very well in the notes. What you mentioned, Adisha. Thank you. We had a very good discussion again, like in the previous ones. Key points were raised. One of the main things were like, there are even right now district level plans that are developed. Rather than having them in isolation, how like climate change plans and also the sustainable development plans, goal achievements, how could they be incorporated into these district level plans? How can they follow a common monitoring system was discussed. And there were some civil society actors who actually did not know about these processes. So I think it was good opening for them. So right now to get engaged from now itself, even before the process comes into the province or the district, you can reach out to the national level actors and relevant provincial authorities to be linked in the process. So that was very important. And there was also long discussions on how agriculture, climate smart agriculture processes, what should be done. Some experiences were shared, especially the Department of Industries, how they could function and benefit from this were discussed in the discussion. I would like to share that the report we will share with all of you, so you could also further add more inputs to this. Things that you were not able to share during the discussion, you can add further inputs and then share with us, so we could take it to the relevant authorities for future action. Yeah, so putting forward to the youth group.
Yes, hi Damita. I am just going to give the quick overview from the youth group. We basically had three questions that we looked at, and just to run through them very briefly and very very fast, because we are, I believe, running out of time. First, we look at what challenges youth for actively engaging in localizing climate actions. One of the main things that were brought up was that that the youth are not aware of the actual nitty-gritties and the theories and things behind climate change that they need to be aware of. So in most cases, sometimes the basic knowledge itself lacks in the youth. So it takes a little time for them to even fight this, because due to the lack of basic knowledge. And when especially looking at the North Central province, you need to take an initiative in working in climate change. So that initiative and that need needs to be built within them, which came up as a challenge. And they also require support both in terms of technical support and technological support, to move on to come up with the best solutions that they could to face these challenges. And a lack of opportunity for the youth was also highlighted in this particular question. Just to move on to the second one, a second question on how do you think provincial and local authorities should enhance the youth engagement in their decision-making process. It was highlighted that youth should play a vital role in the decision-making process from the initial stages, that it is not something that you bring the youth in at one particular stage when certain things are discussed already, that a seat for the youth should be at each of these tables of discussion. And it also was highlighted that the local authorities need to have the capacity to plan and to have a proper introduction so that the youth can get involved in this process. It shouldn't, so that the lack of organization or the structure behind these, including the youth, was also highlighted. And then one of the main things that we discussed was how even the youth that do participate in climate change action or raise their voices against it sometimes do get marginalized and sometimes do get into trouble with different entities, and that becomes a problem and that becomes an element of discouragement. So that was also highlighted with our group, and along with things like youth clubs and schools need more promotional activities such as tree planting activities and beach cleanups and all of those activities, but with a good base and with a good knowledge, and not just going and planting a tree where it needs to be planted, where the tree might actually not grow, because things like that are not necessarily going to help. So that basic knowledge and the lack of it was highlighted as well. I'm very sorry we did not have much time to get into the third question, but we had an overall discussion where we said where we discussed that in terms of how youth can engage in food security issues and to find solutions, addressing issues around the sectors in terms of the supply chain and value chain of food was discussed, and promoting new technological trends in agriculture. And so these are just, I think, promoting new technological training and technical training was actually the one that was discussed mostly. The other two are common things that we have just gathered from the discussion. Samantha, back to you.
Thank you, Ruwani. So I think we are done for the day. Again, a very fruitful discussion going for more than 2.5 hours. I thank every one of you for your constructive participation very actively. Apologize, Sutarshan, I couldn't take your question on what projects are being conducted in Eastern Province. Actually, please share your email address. We will again, send these reports around, and then with that, we will be having a list of projects that are currently being conducted in each of the province. So that could be shared with you for further information. අපි ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා සියලු දෙනාටම ඉතාම මේකට සහභාගී වීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඉතාමත්ම කාර්යශීලීව සහභාගී වුණ පැය දෙකමාරකට වැඩි කාලයක් අදහස් දක්වමින් සහ මොනවද මේ දියුණුවෙන්න ඕනේ කියන කාරණේ විශේෂයෙන්ම දේශීය පරයාස ලේකම් කාර්යාලය ඒ වගේම උතුරු පළාත් සහ නැගෙනහිර පළාත්වල පළාත් කොමසාරිස්තුමන්ලාගේ කාර්යාලවලින් මෙතෙන්ට සම්බන්ධ වෙලා ඉන්නවා. ඒක නිසා මේ අදහස් ඒ අදාළ ස්ථානවලට යොමු කරලා සක්‍රියව කොහොමද සිවිල් සමාජ කණ්ඩායම් දේශීය විපර්යාසවලට දායක වෙන්න කටයුතු කරන්න කියන කාරණය ඉදිරියට ගෙනියන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි. තර්ෂා ඔහල්ලා.
So நன்றி. இதோட இன்றைக்கு இந்த செஷன், இந்த ப்ரோக்ராம் வந்து இன்றைக்கு முடிவடையுது. எங்களோட 2 மணித்தியாலத்துக்கு மேல நாங்க 2 4 மணி என்று தான் சொல்லியிருந்தது. ஆனா சில தொடர்பாடல் டெக்னாலஜிக்கல் எரர்ஸ் அதால 2 மணித்தியாலத்துக்கு மேலவே நாங்க எடுக்க வேண்டியதா போயிட்டது. அப்படி இருந்தும் பொறுமையா எங்களோட தொடர்ந்து எங்களோட கலந்துரையாடல ஈடுபட்டதுக்கு நன்றி. சிவில் எப்படி காலநிலை மாற்றங்களுக்கு ஏற்பட இலங்கை வந்து எப்படி தாங்களே தயார்படுத்திக் கொள்ள வேணும், எப்படி முன்னெடுக்க வேணும், திட்டங்கள் எப்படி முன்னெடுக்கப்பட வேண்டும் சொல்லி உங்களுடைய கருத்துக்களை பகிர்ந்து கொண்டது நன்றி. நன்றி. இனி வரும் காலத்திலேயும் இது தொடர்பான மேலதிக கலந்துரையாடல்கள் திட்ட வகுப்புகள் எல்லாமே நடைபெற இருக்குது சைக்கிள்ட்ரஸ்டால. அதுலயும் உங்களுடைய கருத்துக்களை எங்களோட தொடர்ந்து பங்கு பெற்றி உங்களுடைய கருத்துக்களை எங்களோட பகிர்ந்து கொள்ள வேண்டும் நாங்க ஆசைப்படுறோம். இதுல இந்த கேள்விகள் உங்களால மேலும் உங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது இதோட உங்களுக்கு உங்களுடைய கருத்துக்களை நீங்க கொடுக்கணும் அப்படின்னு சொன்னா நாங்க உங்களுக்கு இந்த ரிப்போர்ட்டை நாங்க உங்களோட ஷேர் பண்ணுவோம். சைக்கிள்ட்ரஸ்ட்ல இருந்து ஷேர் பண்ணுவாங்க. நீங்க மேலும் உங்களுடைய கருத்துக்களை எங்களுக்கு பதிவு பண்ண முடியும். அது தவிர எங்களோட இதுவரைக்கும் இணைஞ்சிருந்ததுக்கு பொறுமையாக எங்களுடைய டெக்னிக்கல் ஃபால்ட் எல்லாத்தையும் பொறுத்து கொண்டு எங்களோட இணைஞ்சிருந்ததுக்கு மிகவும் நன்றி. மேலும் மேலும் நாங்க கலந்துரையாடல்கள்ல உங்களோட பங்கு பெறுறதுக்காக காத்திருக்கிறோம். நன்றி. Over to you, Tamita.
Thank you, Ahalya. So we'll wind off for today. Please share your email addresses. I think most of you have registered. If not, you can put down your email address in the chat box as well. We'll send you a completed report on this, what we've discussed and what will be the future proceedings. And because part of this will go to the Climate Change Secretariat as well, so they can use it when they are going for the provincial adaptation plans in the future. Thank you. බොහොම ස්තුතියි සියලු දෙනාටම සහභාගී වුණාට.
Thank you, Dante. Thank you, Saike. Okay.